Oh, crikey! What's up, listeners? Welcome to Predator vs. Movies. I'm Alex,
I'm Peter.
I'm Aidan.
and this is a podcast where we discuss and review the latest movie releases. I'm giving up already. We're going to start off with a non-spoiler review before diving into a deep discussion of the film, and then we're going to ask the most important question. Would this movie be better if the alien from Predator was in it? This week we're going to be reviewing Avatar: The Way of Water. With notes Avatar with no special guests. But before we do, we're going to get into the news segment. So first off, Donald Glover is set to star in and produce a film for Sony's Spider-Man universe of whatever, based on the classic comic character, the Hypno Hustler.
Yeah.
Which is a Spider-Man villain who uses the power of disco to hypnotize zombies.
I'm very excited for that. That's sick.
I think it's more sick than anything else they're making right now. Like, it's better
is it
than Morbius.
animated or is it part of like Morbius Venom?
I think so. I don't know. I think it's in this.
Cool.
It's in the same. What would you call that? Like, musical artist led franchise with Bad Bunny's.
Oh yeah.
El Muerto.
Yeah.
Like its own separate series of films. That
yeah. Except Donald Glover also is a filmmaker, to be fair too.
At least yes. Yeah. At least he has, for sure, talent in this realm.
Yeah.
So I have a little more faith in that project. But what is that even? What is that going to look like?
I don't
is
know,
Spider-Man in that? Like,
I'm
is it
excited for that though.
A 70s movie, like the origin of the Hypno Hustler?
It would also be funny if they brought in like Tom Holland's Spider-Man for that, because like if Donald Glover's in Homecoming and then his character just never is taken anywhere.
He was supposed to be the Prowler though, and he says his nephew is Miles. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know if he says the name.
He says like, my nephew lives in this neighborhood, and you're
like, oh.
Yeah.
So I guess the Prowler becomes the Hypno Hustler instead. Sure, why not? Moving on to Warner Brothers, Westworld, along with several other acclaimed series, are being booted from the HBO Max platform for tax write-offs, so that they don't have to pay royalties.
Oh, really?
Fucked.
So we know the reason now.
Yeah.
It's because of the tax write-off. Okay.
No, we knew that, when they started doing that months ago, but...
Yeah, no, it's fucked.
They're just...
That's like a dystopian... This is bad. That's not
And
good.
it's so weird, because HBO is like, some of the best shows on TV are there. Yeah. And as a creative, like, in the future, I would have been like, yeah, if any streaming platform, like, that would be the one I would want to work with. And now it's the complete opposite. I would never want to work there because your work could be gone in an instant, Yeah. That's just royally fucked.
But then it's literally just Warner Bros. Can't market or show these. Everyone else can.
No. Okay, so you're confusing. So the tax write-off thing is something that's in production and hasn't released yet. If something already exists and is on the platform, they have to pay royalties because it already exists. And that means I'm paying the creatives and the actors money to show it on my platform.
Right.
And so they're saying we can save money by not doing that. Yeah. And we can make money.
Oh, okay.
We can make money by selling it to
other platforms.
They said they're going to sell it for like TV, and it would play on TV, which is, sucks for people who actually want to watch the show because it's much harder and nobody has cable anymore. But it's sad. I don't know. What would be a good move for them, I think, is if they just started actually making like physical media for these. Because people would buy them 100%.
I think they made physical media for these.
For a streaming original, usually not. I know there was a show called Minx that was also made big headlines. What's his name? It's the guy from New Girl and who's the Spider-Man. Peter B. Parker from the Jake Johnson. So it's a show with him. He's not the lead, but it's a fun show, and it has one season, and this season got taken off, and in the season 2 was in production and it got canceled or something. So it's sad. It's sad over there.
That's not fun.
anyways, we can go to
they poured all their money into Barbie. That's what happened.
Well, let's move on to the slightly more happy news in DC. Only slightly, because it involves a lot of people getting fired. So one of the first things in James Gunn and Peter Safran's DC slate is going to be a new Superman film. They say that Superman is going to be like their main priority, which I think is a good move, seeing as he's probably the most famous superhero ever. And what they're going for is a younger Superman earlier in his career, so that doesn't work with just how old Henry Cavill is. Not saying that he's super old, but like it requires a younger actor. So he has been let go, unfortunately, despite being only brought back less than 2 months ago.
Which is by The Rock.
Yeah, it's. I found it funny. Peter found my finding it funny offensive, but
I can't help but find it a little funny. Like, I guess I never cared that much about Henry Cavill's Superman. I know a lot of people love it, but I was just like, yeah, sure, he's doing a good job there. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he wasn't like a Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man or Chris Evans Captain America.
And if firing him means we can make a better movie and create a better universe out of this, that's worth it.
Dude, I don't think it's a bad decision necessarily. It just feels really bad to be the guy,
Oh, absolutely.
He's hustled for this for so long, and now it's just taken away from him.
I know, and he left The Witcher for that, but also, I mean, I think for The Witcher, the writing was on the wall in that case. So people saying like, oh, he left The Witcher for this, and then also lost this as well. I don't think that's the whole story. The whole picture,
it's not all sad though, because there's another news piece we'll talk about.
Right. Yes. Shortly after being fired from DC,
a day later, actually.
There was a tweet from Raul. I forget his last name, but another actor who was like, "Hey, we should do a Warhammer 4000 series," which I believe is a video game, right? And so
it's a tabletop from the UK.
Okay. Anyways, so it's based off of that, and I think it's for Amazon, and so he's. I don't know if that was already in development and that tweet was like just revealing it, or if they actually moved forward on the tweet.
Okay.
That is a good idea.
Let me catch you up.
Super quickly afterwards, let me just finish. He is set to star in and executive produce that series. So he's fine. Henry Cavill's okay. Anyways, Peter, what do you know about this situation?
So what happened is Henry Cavill is a big Warhammer fan. Warhammer is like a tabletop.
It's like D&D?
RPG, sort of. And then also there's like a game aspect of it as well. So he's like famously known to like paint and create Warhammer figures in his spare time. And apparently this has been talked for a very long time. And he actually visited the Warhammer HQ back in February of this year. At the time, everyone thought it's just a wholesome, he's in love, is like
just a visit to the headquarters of
like it's like he's been a fan of this franchise since he was 10 apparently. So it's like really sweet that they give him a tour and everything. But now it sounds like he visited because that series is in development. And the Rahu tweet was actually he had no idea this was happening. It's kind of funny because it received so much traction. BAFTA commented on the tweet. Asa
Butterfield.
Yes, the guy from Sex Education commented as well. So everyone's we should make this happen, and then but a day later, obviously it got announced. But the guy had no idea when he tweeted that, which is pretty funny.
Very interesting. Yeah. And actually more on Cavill. Some more news regarding Black Adam has been released.
Yes.
So apparently, among several things that happened with The Rock this week in the news cycle, he was intending to use Cavill as a quote-unquote pawn to control a corner of the DC universe.
One might say the power hierarchy of the DC universe.
Yeah. I think this is so funny. The Rock is treating this like a fucking Game of Thrones. It's like the battle for the DC universe's soul or some shit. But
and he's losing.
Dude, and the fact that he released fake financial records, that's kind of
that was also
so funny.
Yeah.
That was also in the news. So he's been lying about how much money it's making. He also unfollowed Warner Brothers and James Gunn on whatever Instagram or Twitter or something, which I always find that so funny that people are like looking for that.
like that's found out immediately.
Yeah. But yeah, he's having a tantrum, is what it seems like, and he really wanted to have his Black Adam centric universe. Actually, apparently, also he turned down having a cameo in the Shazam verse, which is so stupid.
Did you hear his actual comment though?
I don't know what the actual comment is. Do you have it in?
Yes, he's literally like, I'm reserved for like the big movies. I'm only for the big leagues, not for small
really?
cameos.
He said that?
Like he doesn't seem to understand.
Let me find it.
He doesn't seem to understand that Black Adam is a Shazam character. Like it's the antithesis to Shazam. So how do you do Black Adam and not work with Shazam? It's weird. I don't think he gets it.
Yeah. No, that's very goofy. that's crazy if he actually said that. Do you have the actual quote, Peter?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now.
Okay, we'll come back to you when you find it. But also, there was a rumor, and it quickly got shut down. But I would like to talk about it anyways. That Robert Pattinson's Batman and Matt Reeves' kind of Batman corner could be like the groundwork for James Gunn's future DC slate. And I think Aidan and I definitely agreed, being like, yeah, that would never work. Yeah, just I think the tone.
Yeah. Like, how do you mesh that with, like, I'm assuming they're going to try to make like a bright and hopeful Superman. And it's like, how do you mesh those things?
It just, the tones seem disparate enough that like it just would not work.
Yeah.
And it's like that was the trouble that the MCU had at its start. And I think super quickly they made it was Iron Man, and I think the next like really MCU film that like is like a good comparison would be Thor. And like look at how those movies do have very similar tones.
Yeah.
Despite being, one grounded in science and one grounded in kind of mythology and stuff like that. Yeah. Whereas unless everything became super dark like the Reeves verse, like I don't think it works. No, like I said on Twitter, like I just don't see Robert Pattinson going into space and fighting Darkseid. Like it's it just doesn't fit.
No, Peter, I wouldn't want to see that.
Are you having any luck finding that quote?
I found so many articles about it, but I think I saw it in a tweet. So
it must have been real.
Yeah, you can keep struggling away. We're gonna move on. Aidan wanted to talk about the Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah. So this movie has been in development for like years and years and years and years. And so finally, not only is it going forward, not only do they have a script, they've cast both Matthew Lillard of Scooby-Doo fame and Josh Hutcherson of Hunger Games fame. I'm excited. I used to play this game in middle school, and I want to see the movie. That's my segment.
Great. Yeah, I think I saw that Lillard is going to be the villain. I don't know anything about the lore.
It's convoluted and insane.
It is insane. Yeah, I think I'm aware of that faction. But before we get into our movie, we had a good trailer week this week, so we're gonna head on over into the trailer park.
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
That's not what a trailer sounds
hey, that's a motorcycle. That's us on a motorcycle pulling into the trailer park.
Gotcha.
Why are we on motorcycles in the trailer
it's
park?
Cool. Because it's cool.
This is cool.
We're going around and looking at all the trailers.
Okay,
dude,
sure.
I just realized we don't have the MCU corner this week.
No Marvel corner.
Well, we kind of did start with the Marvel corner, but
but that wasn't like the MCU, so it's not like the Marvel corner.
Anyway, so first and probably the most exciting trailer this week, Barbie. We finally got a first look. It's more of a teaser. I have a question for you guys. Do you think what we saw, like the 2001 Space Odyssey parody, is that part of the movie, or is that
100%
specifically for the trailer?
I think it might just be for the trailer. I was thinking that too.
Which is such a great move.
Yeah.
I love that idea that they filmed something unique for the trailer.
Yeah.
Because it really grabs your attention.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that the target audience seems to be like us in a way. Like not the three of us specifically, but like it seems to be for people who really like movies and not like, I don't think it'll alienate general audiences, but like it's not like just a generic.
Right. It's not gonna be the same thing as like the Lego movie, which was like another movie that is an ad, and basically. Like very generalized and yeah.
Dude, all I'm gonna say is it stars Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. That's enough.
It's a great cast.
Yeah,
I mean, you're a big cast guy, as we know. But yeah, no, I think it'll be great, and I'm kind of glad that they didn't really show anything about it. Like, it's a proper teaser.
Ryan Gosling looks so good. Holy shit!
The one outfit he had was very interesting with the eyeliner and it was like a vest or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, we also got a trailer for Across the Spider-Verse, the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sequel. That looks fun and lots of Spider-Man in there and
Dude, this movie was supposed to release this year. It got pushed back twice.
Yeah, it keeps getting pushed. What I do think I've heard about it is that there's like a multiversal collection of Spider-Man, and we see that's where they are for a lot of it, and they're trying to combat like a threat, and they have a particular way of doing that, and Miles doesn't like their methodology. I think it might involve killing people, which sounds a little bit like Black Adam, but so I think that'll be cool. And Oscar Isaac, I mean, is great. So
yeah, I'm excited to see future Spider-Man Miguel O'Hara guy. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah. We also had, speaking of the future, there's a trailer for a movie that no one had heard of called 65.
Oh my god, I totally knew you were gonna bring that up.
At first, many people might be wondering, why is it that number? Why is it called 65? I think it took me, like, I saw the teaser and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then it took me about 5 seconds into the trailer being like, wait a minute, 65, like as in million years ago? And then I was like, oh, yeah, it is. So it's
every documentary movie ever, man.
yeah,
basically. Like creepy narrative 65 million years ago.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a good voice. So it stars Adam Driver, and basically they're like space people from the future, and then they're in the past, and then they have guns, and they're trying to survive dino times with a gun.
Nice.
It looks interesting. I think it'll be fun.
Dude, I gotta say though, that trailer's first half like has so much suspense, and like Adam Driver just acting the shit out of it, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be a great movie. Then I saw the dinosaurs, I was like, oh fuck. It's probably gonna be bad, bro.
No dinos. No dinos for you.
It's too goofy. Like Adam Driver's great in like serious movies, but like,
you know, oh no,
he's also a funny. He's like a comedic. Yeah, he's funny too.
No, I'm talking about like the movie setting. It's not just like I loved him in The Black Klansman. Like he can do funny, sure. But like I think it's a lot better when like the movie itself is like serious.
Sure,
it's a popcorn movie.
That's what I meant. Yeah,
that's what 65 is, and so yeah, I think that's not something that Adam Driver has done too much of. He's
Star Wars. He was in Star Wars.
He's famous for. Speaking of movies that aren't popcorn, there was a new trailer for The Whale. These segues are terrible. There's a new trailer for The Whale. This is the first time I've had any idea what this movie is like about. Looks good. Looks interesting.
Yeah, looks
good. Yeah, their reviews have not been fantastic going forward, and so I'm still excited for it, but I'm very curious because I mean we'll get into it, but there's a different movie I saw this week that is getting similar reviews that I very much loved. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah. There was also 2 other trailers that came out this week. There was a trailer for Scream 6.
6 Scream.
I think it's actually Scream, and then the M becomes a V and a
Oh,
Y.
oh, you're right. It is like screen. Yeah.
Screen.
It's like no, it's screeny. That's what it is. Yeah, screeny.
Screevy. Yeah.
No, because the M becomes like an N with the V, and then there's the I after.
Well, no, there's also like the M can't become an N and an I. It has to
Yeah,
become
so
a V. It's an I and a V and an I.
the M loses its
Screevy.
right leg, and so it becomes like a sideways N, and then there's a V in the middle, and then there's an I at the end. So it's
Yeah, exactly. And the V is colored red, so then the one leg.
But you
of the
still
M
see
that's
the left
white,
leg of the M.
Yeah, so
So
that
it's
becomes an
screeny.
I. No,
No.
the M becomes a red V and a red I and a white I, so it's screevy.
No, it's screeny.
Anyways, Ghostface goes to New York, and that looks interesting.
Yeah.
Final trailer of the week was showing up. It's Kelly Reichardt's latest film. She's reteaming with Michelle Williams. She's been with Michelle Williams for at least 2 movies, if not more. And this will be Hong Chau's 3rd film this year that she's co-starring in. She was also in The Menu, and I'm forgetting already. Which one?
The Whale.
Thank you, The Whale. Yes.
Yeah.
And that one looks fun, and it's like it's a group of people who do like art and like modern kind of interesting art, and so that looks fun.
Cool.
Last bits of news are related to the movie that we watched this week. So, as a little, what is it? A teaser? A little amuse bouche. That's what I was looking for our movie. James Cameron is currently working on Avatar 3, the edit, and he delivered a 9-hour cut to the studio because he wants to do the VFX. What the fuck did I say? VFX for all 9 hours before cutting it down.
Yeah, which is
that's
so
insane behavior.
Yeah.
How can you not know that's 3 Avatar Way of Waters?
Dude, like the confidence of him as well. Like, they're all going to be top grossing movies of all time. So like, what are you complaining about? Like, I do have to respect it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's
just like it's a real shame that if you actually do that, like basically 60% of it is going to end up on the cutting room floor, and like, dude, that's just such disrespect to the people who do VFX, you know.
True, yeah.
That's true.
Does that ultimately, like, is that gonna have to be split into Avatar 3 and
part 1, part 2?
Like, there's another movie added to the slate.
Yeah, like it's so much.
They do like the Matrix thing where 2 sequels are released in the same year or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, that reminds me. Wasn't there like an Endgame? People were talking about like Endgame had like a 9-hour cut or something.
No way.
There was a cut that was super long.
Maybe it's just a part of the 3-hour blockbuster life cycle. Like it starts off life as a 9-hour cut.
I can't even imagine a 9-hour movie. Like, how do you cut that? How do you film enough so that you can and then it still works as a 3-hour movie?
Well, to be honest, Avatar at least, like most of it is filmed on a green screen with like, you know, these CG suits. So,
but what is the script if they have 9 hours of footage?
That's what I'm confused about. Yes.
Like, most of it must just be like people swimming around and like 9 hours of people just swimming.
Dude, it's just nature shots, man.
Well, that's what like half of this movie is. Like, okay, James, you gotta choose between this shot of the people swimming with the fish or this shot. It's like, I can't pick, I need both. You can't make me. Titanic and Avatar paid for this screen. You can't make me, you know. That's James Cameron for you. More Avatar news. The Avatar 4 script was apparently so good that the only note he received from a particular executive was, "Holy fuck." And I'm supposed to assume that meant they liked it, but I don't know for sure. So stick around for Avatar.
Wait, who broke this news?
I don't know. I'm sure it's just part of the press junket.
I like the idea that James Cameron himself leaked that information.
No, I'm sure he said that. I'm pretty sure that he released that in an interview. And the last bit of Avatar news is a little unfortunate. Silly James Cameron. I think it's just we know what the Avatar movies are like they're a thinly veiled
Oh yeah, I
plea
know
for
what you're
like
talking
environmentalism, and also like it's what is it, Dances with Wolves, like
about.
it's
Yeah,
an indigenous
yeah, like
story and like white savior story,
yeah,
and James Cameron has taken it upon himself to embody the white savior energy in his
yeah,
personal real life
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
And so he had a comment regarding the writing of, I don't know if it's this one or the
I think it's
next
the first
one.
Avatar.
Oh, the first
I
one?
think it's the first one he was talking about that he was.
Oh, weird. Okay. Anyways, but he said, like, in his writing for Avatar, he said, and I quote, "I couldn't help but think that if they," and he's referring to the Lakota tribe, if they had a time window and they could see the future and they could see their kids committing suicide at the highest suicide rates in the nation, and then ellipses, they would have fought a lot harder.
Yeah,
That's
That's
just
a
a bad
would
comment to
not say
give.
that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think that's a
That's.
fair comment, and
I would say no one should say that. I would go that
yeah,
far. Yeah.
yeah. So that has definitely put a dampener on the opening weekend, but
Yeah.
I think it's been doing very well, anyways. Even
Yeah.
like Thursday, it was making a lot of money because people were seeing it early.
Mhm.
So the movie we're talking about this week is Avatar: The Way of Water. It's directed by James Cameron, screenplay by Cameron, along with Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver. Story by those three, as well as Josh Friedman and Shane Salerno. So
Mhm.
big writing team. It stars Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Stephen Lang, Kate Winslet, and apparently that she was the wife of the Water Tribe
Oh, that's what I said.
chief.
Yeah.
We weren't sure who that was,
Yeah.
who she played. Cliff Curtis, Jamie Flatters. I think these are the kids. Jamie Flatters, Britton Dalton, Trinity Jolie Bliss, Jack Champion, who plays Spider, and Bailey Bass, along with many others. It's a huge cast.
Mhm.
DP is Russell Carpenter. The runtime is 3 hours and 12 minutes. It has a budget estimated of around 350 to 400 million dollars,
Yep.
which makes it one of the most expensive films of all time. This film has more or less been in the works since 2010, like since he wanted, before the release, he wanted to have sequels to Avatar, so he's been working on it for a long time. But they needed to develop new technology to film performance capture scenes underwater, and so it took a while to get that done. Um, they shot for 3 years between 2017 and 2010, which
Yeah.
is also insane. That's
Yeah.
so long. Like I think most are what, half a year films
Yeah.
in half a year or less,
I think less. Yeah. Like
like
depending
much
on the shoot.
less.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. And they also filmed simultaneously the third film, so that's how they're already working on that. But yeah, so before we get into our review of them, we have a little game we play called Metacritic.
Yeah.
And so there's a little
Dude,
website.
dude. I was totally gonna say explain that gram because I just watched Paul Dano on fucking Hot Ones.
I don't know
Okay.
any of what you just said.
Oh, you
That's a
don't watch
segment.
Hot Ones?
That's a segment on
Oh
Hot
my
Ones.
God.
I don't really understand how it connects to what we're talking about, but then
No, because like he does that. Sean Evans does that. It's like there's this recurring
Metacritic?
segment on the show called "Explain That Gram," and Alex was like, we do this little segment, whatever. Anyway,
Okay, I do that every week, so I don't
Yes.
know how that just came up now. But anyways, we have a game called Metacritic, and
Sure
so
do.
there's a website called Metacritic on the internet where they tabulate critics' reviews of film and give an average score out of 100. If it gets 60 or above, it's green. If it gets 80 or above, it's must see. If it's in the 50s, it gets yellow. And if it's in the 40s or below, it gets red. So we are going to guess where Avatar: The Way of Water lands in that scoring system. So first off, let's switch it up. Peter can go first this week.
Cool. Pete guy.
73.
Really, just off the gate.
Interesting.
Yeah, off
I
the
think that's actually very close to what. Yeah. I'll let Aidan go last this time because I always make him go first. I'm gonna guess. 75.
Okay, 73 and 75.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm metagaming it, then
you're predigaming it.
Yeah, 74 would be a risky guess, right? Because that it has to
I
be
think
right
that would
on
be
that.
really goofy.
That'd be a dumb guess. I'm basically asking myself, do I think it's lower than 73 or higher than 75? And
That
I was
is
honestly thinking 80s when I first.
Do it.
So I'm gonna say 76 because I think it's higher than that.
interesting. So I did just look at it as you were guessing, and I had to keep a straight face. It has a 69. That's insane.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
69.
I thought it was gonna
And
be 80s. I thought it was gonna be like 82. That's what I was gonna guess.
I'm just
No.
happy that I'm safe from doing a summary of this movie.
not only that, you won this time, Peter.
Yeah. Oh
You
fuck! I have
won,
to summarize this
Charlie.
movie.
You won.
Good luck doing that in 2 minutes.
I've just summarized this movie in 2 minutes. Shit.
A 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
I think that's a low score. I don't know
I
if
think
I
that's
agree
very
with
low.
69.
I kind of like. I will get into it, but like there are
We'll get
definitely
into it.
problems. That's our catchphrase. We'll definitely like there are problems with this movie for sure, but like I honestly can forgive most of the problems I have with it because the parts I like are just like, whoa, yeah.
I think that's the issue. Is it's a well-made, whoa, yeah, popcorn, blockbuster movie, but it's not much more than that.
Sure.
So that's why I was expecting the 70s. I wouldn't have given it 80 or
What
above.
I don't get is that I left theater. I was like, that was better than Top Gun Maverick for me. Like
that's
easily for me. Like I don't even
I
have to think about that hard. And it's better
No,
than
I see. The thing is, I saw someone ask that question on Twitter today, and I thought about it, and I have to disagree. I think Top Gun Maverick is significantly better.
But
Yeah,
the
I think
story-
Top Gun's better.
the story is not like incredible in Top Gun. They're fighting
No.
the nebulous enemy because they don't want to name who they're fighting.
Okay, as if,
stuff like that.
I wouldn't say that the human race as the villains in this movie are much better than the vague enemy.
The enemy they don't name. I just thought that was such a funny detail in that movie.
It is
that,
funny.
That
No,
they
it's
don't
funny, but-
they don't like
yeah.
name a country or something because they don't want to.
You don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah.
And it's actually more funny that I like a movie that promotes the military-industrial complex more than the movie that hates it and is an environmentalist. So like value.
Oh my god, that's true. Yes.
But I honestly think that from a filmmaking standpoint, Top Gun Maverick is better made. Like the cinematography is fantastic, and they use practical, they use jets and stuff. So I just admire it from that standpoint.
But I love the visuals.
I agree. Yeah.
Avatar was hit or miss, and
Really?
Dude, Alex, I'm honestly with you there. I think I absolutely
Peter
agree
and
with you.
Okay.
But yeah, so now that we've done our Metacritic, let's get into our non-spoiler reaction a little more. So Peter, as the winner, you get to decide who goes first. If it's you or somebody else, it's up to you.
I'll go first. I think I'll have a little more controversial take. I saw the first one very recently. I think I saw it October, so 2 months ago, and I really liked the first one.
Okay.
This one, not so much, actually.
Really?
Like first one, I was able to sit.
Already.
Yeah, this one, first one, I was able to sit through. I think was the first one close to 3 hours as well, or is it higher than 3 hours?
2 hours. 2 hours 45.
Okay, yeah. Like I was able to sit through that, like just as like a like when you watch a good movie, you don't really check your watch or like
Sure.
like you don't feel the time elapsing, right? Like but like this one, I was getting actually like noticeably fatigued towards the end of the film. I think I'm just getting a little bit too much Avatar at the end.
Okay.
Obviously, there are really bright points of this movie that I really like. I'm just going to quickly comment on the visual because I feel like that's the biggest question everyone's going to have. Yes, it is great. It is as good. And honestly, I would say much, much better than the first one just because the water scenes and the techniques Cameron uses. There are some really gorgeous shots in there. So if you watch it for the visual, that it's going to be very worth it. Now, I saw it in non-IMAX 3D environment with no high frame rate. So my viewing experience is visuals is still stunning in a non-IMAX environment, and the HFR thing doesn't really affect my viewing. Didn't really affect my viewing experience viewing it in non-HFR. So it's so complicated, man. There's so many different versions of this movie.
That's what HFR means.
Yeah, just because there are different ways that you can see it, right?
Yeah.
So like, I can tell you that 3D non-HFR looks fine. I don't know how much better with HFR and IMAX it would look, but it looks fine. So I gave the first one a 5 out of 5. I think it's that good. It's a cinematic. Yeah, I think it's a cinematic achievement, and I really like the first one. So first one is a 5 out of 5 for me. This one is a 3.5 out of 5. This one, there are really bright spots, but unfortunately, there are just some things in the story that I just cannot buy into. I'd recommend this to everybody. I think everyone would get something out of it, whether it's from the visual of the story. That's up to you. But I think this one it's good, but not as good as the first one.
Okay,
that's a crazy and chaotic, directed by Elizabeth take you have there. Man, I'm processing all the things you just said. First off,
yeah, they can disagree with everything you said.
Okay, I think. Oh yeah, okay. The one thing I did want to say was, for those who don't know, high frame rate. Okay, so most movies, you see an image. Oh god. Okay, so movies are. I'm gonna be like fucking start of the Fablemans. So movies are a collection of images played in quick succession. 24.
Right back to the beginning.
Yeah, 24, and then someone has to jump in. Movies are dreams, darling. Right? So, okay, a movie is usually 24 pictures shown a second. That's just the standard, and it's been the standard for like 100 years. And that's not always the case, though. You can also film stuff. I think Avatar is probably what, 30?
I think it's 48.
48.
I think it's 48.
So that's double the amount usual. And what happens is when you increase the number of pictures shown a second, it looks more like real life, I think, is the idea. You lose this effect that is interesting when you use fewer frames per second, called motion blur. And what that does is it shows motion, really. It shows things that are it becomes more clear as you're watching that things are moving, and it gives things like you can tell velocity and momentum and gravity kind of stuff. And if it's in a higher frame rate, it looks more like real life. So like on your TVs, it's a common thing that filmmakers hate on modern TVs is that they turn motion smoothing on, which reduces motion blur, and so it makes movies look weird because it's just not the traditional look, and it looks more like a reality TV series.
Yeah, like if you've ever walked into a Best Buy and they have like a movie playing on the screens, like, and you're like, that looks weird. Like that's what it is.
Yeah. Is there anything else I need to explain about high frame rate? I feel like, is that a good impression?
Wait. Actually, I have a question. So high frame rate negates motion blur?
Yeah. Okay. So if you watch Avatar, you shouldn't see motion blur.
Gotcha.
That's the idea.
Or at least nowhere near as much as you would if it was at 24.
Yeah. So it just looks less cinematic, and we'll discuss like what we felt about it. But anyways, Aidan, let's hear what do you think about Avatar: Way of Water?
Yeah, so I, unlike Peter, don't like the first one that much. I think it's like I liked it enough when I was a kid, but even as a child, like I was 7 when it came out, and I wasn't that blown away by it. I rewatched it this year, and I never felt that immersed in it. I didn't really care about any of the characters. I thought like the visuals were cool, but I felt like it felt like a pretty empty story for its runtime. Whereas this one, I was very, very engaged with it, and there were some times where I was taken out of it a little bit, but generally, like, this felt like a very immersive experience to me, and I think that's the intended goal of it. I actually liked the characters. I even didn't mind Sam Worthington's character, Jake Sully, as much. I thought he was a lot better in this movie. He feels like I care more about what he's doing. I have a better idea of who he is and how he thinks in this movie. I like his kids a lot. I actually really, really like all of the Avatar kids. They were like my favorite part of the movie, is just watching them do stuff. I loved just like the Avatar guys hanging out in the water village, and that was my favorite part of the movie. And I was like, this is so fucking sick. And every time it cut away from that, I was like, oh, come on. Just show me more of the water village stuff. I did unfortunately watch this in high frame rate, and so sometimes it looks like a PS5 game, and I think that was bad. And I didn't like that at all, and that definitely took me out of it. But I generally thought the visuals were like incredible. There are like maybe a couple times where like it seemed like the physics were off, and maybe that's not the right word for it, but it's like something didn't look right. Like maybe like once or twice, but I don't know. Maybe I could have just been making that up. They also employed like the crash zoom thing, like the 2009 Star Trek thing, a bunch of times, and I didn't like that at all. I also thought there are a few other like fairly anachronistic things about this movie. Like it feels like a kind of like a 2000s blockbuster sometimes, and I I didn't like that much. Like there's kind of some dialogue that's pretty corny. There's some cliches that I feel like there are moments in this movie where it's like, oh yeah, I remember when movies did that all the time, and that didn't really work for me. So, but overall, I had a very positive experience with this movie. I actually really liked the pacing. I never felt like, especially as it got in more and more, I was right there with it. I felt like I was like my emotions and the intensity was built up really well, and then it was released, and then it didn't like do that thing I hate where it had like a really climatic point and then it tried to force another one. It felt like it was a really smooth build to me. And yeah, so this movie was 4 out of 5 stars for me, and I would recommend it just about anyone. I think give this a try. You might really like this, and you might walk away not caring as much.
Yeah, the two of us watched it together, and I feel like anytime that happens, we often come away with like basically the same viewpoint. It's reaction via osmosis. Like we're just like
yeah. Well, there was also a thing where we would laugh at the same like moments, and so we know what each other. It's this kind of thing where if I hear you laugh at a moment, I suddenly understand how you're watching the movie a little bit more, and so like I can't help but watch it that way a little bit as well.
It's very funny, yeah. So yeah, I think this is like a great blockbuster. It's not a perfect blockbuster, so like I think Top Gun was better, and even then, like there's better examples of blockbusters than both of those two. I think. What can I say? I mean, yeah, I think in every way it's a step up from the first film. Which I really did not care for. I think it's super cliched, the first one, and like the writing is terrible. The graphics aren't that good, 10 years later or 10 plus years later. So like, yeah, in those senses, like, the graphics are incredible. The underwater scenes, I have to admit, I was very taken aback by like how good those were. The dialogue did not get much better. But it's funny because I know I picked up on this. It's not that the dialogue got better; it's that there was less of it in this movie. The characters just stopped talking, and I was like, "Thank you, just shut up." And then you've got a better movie.
But I also think it's that the situation is something you buy into a bit more, so like you forgive a bit of the dialogue.
Yeah, I think the fact that I think as a whole, like I think the story in this one was a little more interesting, although significant portions of it are just it's like a patchwork of different cliches that you've definitely seen before, which I mean, is okay. Like, there's only so many stories that exist in the world, but yeah, I don't know. Like what Aidan was saying, I didn't feel the runtime. It didn't feel overly long. I did check my watch every now and then just to kind of, keep up and be like, okay, yeah, this is okay. Yeah, we're in the middle. Okay, yeah, we have this much time left, but I didn't feel the runtime so much, and I think for an over 3 hour film, like I think it was paced very well actually. I don't know. I think there's a lot of characters in this, and James Cameron balances them as well as is humanly possible, I think, given how many different characters I'm supposed to know and care about. And there are some drawbacks in that sense that we'll get into.
Yeah, there's one major character that I was like, every time I was like, ugh, come
on. What else can I say? Yeah, the human stuff sucks, and it always has sucked. But I think that's about it. So yeah, I think I said in the theater, I was like, yeah, that's like a 4-star film for me, just because it does what it wants to do very well.
Yeah,
I think this is
I agree 100%.
I think Avatar as a genre, the Avatar genre, it's never going to break barriers if it's written and directed by James Cameron. I think that's my hot take, is that this is about as good as a movie Avatar is ever going to be. I think the notion that James Cameron is willing to let other people direct his films in the future, these Avatar films specifically, I think is a fantastic idea. And I actually tweeted that Denis Villeneuve taking over a film could be something super interesting. Yeah. I just really like him as a filmmaker personally, but he's done Aliens before. And I think, if someone else was given a little bit of like, if a little more control was taken away from Jim, I think you might actually get to something really crazy and that might actually push boundaries. But I think James Cameron is always just going to lean into these cliches at this point.
Yeah. Do you think hold him back. I generally, I think I agree with that take. Do you think that he wants to tell like a quote unquote timeless story, and so that's why it's like it feels like there's so many recognizable archetypes like that we know from so many of our stories, but it's transposed onto this alien world, and it's this idea that like we're supposed to see this as almost like a new sort of fable.
That's interesting. No, I think he's a bad writer, and that's I think that's as far as that goes. I think he thinks like the scene that I keep thinking about when I think about this is the scene where the kids from the water tribe are bullying are the main kids, and it becomes like a classic like fist fight brawl, and like, hey, do you know what this is? This is a cool thing called a fist. And then like that whole scene, I was like, that's from like a high school movie.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like every scene, or like, and the whole idea, I couldn't tell you what movie he's emulating, but everything in the movie is like things I've seen before.
Sure.
He does it well, but you know, so yeah, I would actually, given all that, I would say, you know, people should go check this out. It was a fun time, and I think it's a better blockbuster than, you know, the slog that they pump out everywhere else. It's much better than Black Adam, so and that's the new benchmark apparently. Okay, so now that we're done our non-spoiler takes, we are going to do the 2-minute synopsis. And
okay,
let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, this time don't show me the timer because that stresses me out. Just have it in your hand.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want a warning when it's at like 1 minute or 10
give
seconds?
Give me 1 minute, and then give me 30 seconds, then give me 10.
Okay. So what else? Oh yeah. So no spoiler time.
Spoiler time. Okay, give me a second to just collect my thoughts. And then okay.
Okay, so Avatar 2, Wave Water. Yeah.
Okay.
There's lots of water. Okay. Got it. Okay, so we are going to summarize the film in under 2 minutes. 3, 2, 1, here we go.
Okay, so we open and we find out that Jake Sully and Neytiri have been like they've had a family. They've had a bunch of kids. The humans were expelled. There's this human boy named Spider who is the son of the bad general from the first one, but he's grown up like with the Avatar people, and so he's like kind of one of them, but it's like sort of not. Neytiri doesn't really like him, whatever. And so we find out that also that humans are coming back, and that the general guy has been like his like memories have been implanted into an avatar, so he's a big blue general guy now. And so as it opens up, we see that humans are like attacking the forest, and the we don't like this. The Sullys don't like this. And so they try to attack back, but they decide to flee because they realize that the general people are only really after Jake. And so Jake flees to this distant water tribe who they're Avatar people, but they swim in water and stuff instead of doing trees and stuff. And then for a lot of the movies occupied by them just learning the ways of the water people because they have to, like they're trying to avoid the war because they don't want to be involved in it. At the same time, they're being hunted down by the general guy who has kidnapped Spider, who is the human child. And so, like, and because that's technically his father, there's a bit of a conflict going on there. But it turns out, like, they're getting closer and closer to the water people, and they start burning down villages trying to find them. That doesn't work for some reason. I don't know why they could just keep doing that, but they try to like draw out. They try to draw out the people by hunting these like giant whale things, and it works. And so that the Sullys get involved in the war, and they bring the Water Tribe into it. There's a big fight. Sully's oldest son dies in the process of it. What else happens? Like pretty much all of the humans fucking die, and the general guy almost dies, but Spider saves him, and then Spider goes with the Sullys in the end. And then they go off, and by the end of it, the Sullys are part of the Water Tribe. They have a funeral for their guy, and then
Very nice.
I feel like I missed a little bit, but I think that was the general gist of it.
Yeah, no, I think those the large story beats. There's whales, and the second eldest son has like a inferiority complex or something because of his older brother, and so he bonds with the whale, who's an outcast in the whale tribe. Yeah, the tribe of whales.
Yeah, because the whales are like smarter than humans,
and also they're pacifists, and he fought back against the humans as whales tend to do, and they didn't like that, and so he's been outcast. There's also a hot water avatar that he likes.
Yeah, true.
She's a very sexy avatar, apparently. Sigourney Weaver's kid avatar has like some more hammering. The kid avatar is like in tune with the ways of Pandora, and like
she can connect with Awa. That's dude, it's actually kind of funny because Sigourney Weaver played both herself, like the doctor, and the kid.
Yeah,
I didn't find out about that show. Yeah,
because there's the third one is the Avatar in the coma. But that's important. So Sigourney Weaver's character died in the first one in her Avatar form, and she was like at the Tree of Souls or something, and then she got pregnant and had a kid, and that kid is adopted by Jake Sully's family, which is really weird. So there's a question who knocked her up in the term. That's what they said in the movie. That was a quote.
And also she has a budding relationship with Spider as well.
Oh right, yes. And like the whole film, I think his name is Quaritch. Like what a strange name, the general Quaritch or something. And he's just like, he hates Jake and is just like revenge driven. I'm going to kill the guy who killed the old me.
But did Neytiri kill him in the first one, or was it Jake?
Yeah, okay. It was Neytiri. And so he also becomes really afraid of her super bow and arrows. Mm-hmm. I think that's the important bits. Okay, so let's get into our spoilery discussion. So first off, I think we should talk about the graphics. Because that's kind of like the main draw here, I think, to be honest. It's interesting. There's like a wide range of how I felt about the graphics for this movie. There's some moments that are really, really good.
There's some gorgeous moments in this movie.
And then there's some really janky moments.
I'm curious as to, which moments are you thinking of?
I think, the worst were not the PS5 moments. Like, that's a different class altogether. Mm-hmm. There's some moments where I turned to you in the theater and I was like, did they render that wrong? Oh. And it's usually, like, shots where things are moving a lot in the background, and it looks terrible. And I don't know what happened.
I am blaming that on our theater, to be honest with you.
Oh, you think? Okay.
The same theater that didn't turn on the 3D until like into the movie, and also didn't turn the lights off.
Yeah, we did at some point. I didn't notice, but but yeah, like literally, we were watching the trailers before the movie started, and in the 3D, like you're supposed to have the glasses on, and we were like flipping them on and off, being like, it looks bad both ways. It's not And like what do you do then? So yeah, they, like literally a minute into the movie, I think they turned it on, and I'm like, oh, it's 3D now. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, there you go. It was funny though.
So I thought that was like, there's
That's
just a problem
possible.
with the projection of it.
It could be the high
I didn't
frame rate.
find any moments like that personally, so it might just be a theater.
The other thing is like I thought it was like a frame rate issue because it seemed like that seemed to be what the problem was. I don't know. Anyways, so rendering aside, I think there's a lot of shots where the PS5-ness came across, and I think it was the frame rate was our issue.
I think that like that is the main barrier for the graphics for me. Like it's like and it's especially bad in like hand-to-hand combat scenes, like right towards the end when that's what I felt like when
okay,
when Sully and General guy, what's his name, Quaritch, when they're fighting, like Sully, there's a specific moment where Sully tackles him, and I was like, this is straight out. This is and the way it's filmed too, like the shot looks like a PS5 cutscene. It's like, this is not. I don't want this.
I think for me it was mainly like wide shots looked bad usually. Okay. I was like, oh, this is the establisher, you know, like clearly I'm about to start playing soon, or the action scenes. I think it was also like when the ship starts sinking, and like when those the new human mech suits that are like thinner start moving around and hopping around. I was like, oh, that's a game. That's a cut scene from like a fight scene. But I mean, the underwater scenes, conversely, looked fantastic. I think that's the best underwater has ever looked on camera. Specifically, like fake underwater, you know, like. So
they did film a lot underwater. I know that it's like CG.
Oh, they did
and stuff, but they did actually film underwater for a lot of it. Like actors had to learn to hold their breath for however long.
No. Oh, that's cool.
They did a little bit of that for Black Panther as well, because I know they had to take swim, swim exercises or whatever.
Dude, what are your favorite scenes? Like you think is the prettiest? I have a clear winner. I want to hear you guys.
There's one shot where it's when someone's being healed. I don't remember who it is. Who's being healed?
Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver's character is being healed, and it's like a close on her body, and like the setting sun is hitting her skin. And Alex and I were both like, "Holy shit!" Like in the theater, like we turned to each other and
I'm pretty sure like
that was incredible.
There are like pixels lighting up as well, right? Like they're like yellow,
like sort of glow in the darkness.
Skin pigments that are glowing.
It wasn't that for me. It was the very minuscule body hairs that you could see, and like for like a lot of it you're just like, oh, these are like probably slimy. I don't know, like smooth cat creatures, but when you get it close you're like, oh, that looks so real because of those details. And also like it was like a needle poking at the stomach, and that was the best shot in the whole film, I think. I think
I don't know if you guys remember this shot, but there's this one shot where like the brother character, like the younger brother, was with his whale, and we see like him sort of like touching the surface of the water, but it's in reverse.
Oh yeah.
That shot was just like, holy shit, that looks so good.
That was really cool.
I think for me, like a lot
just
of
very creative, like a lot of creative visuals in there, which I find very good.
Yeah, I think for me, most of my favorite shots were details, like the close-up ones. So there's that, and I like the shot where Sigourney Weaver's looking at a hole in the sand, and it's, they don't. Well, you could laugh, but they didn't even explain it, which I preferred. Instead of being like, oh, there's a crab in there or whatever, because that's probably what it is. I like that it was just like nobody's talking. I'm just in the moment. Which is the problem I had with the first film, right?
I agree. It's a lot of those moments where like we're just sitting and taking in this world. Absolutely. And like that's what led to my immersion of this. I like being a lot better. Where like I really like I'm very excited to see where this franchise goes next. I'm completely on board for Avatar 3. Like, and it's because like I actually there are characters that I like and I want to see where they go now, but it's also because like we got to just sit in this world and like experience it, and I think a lot of that it comes down to those little details you were talking about.
Dude, I think we've been to the forest and the ocean. I think it's the desert next, bro. The desert tribe of Pandora.
Desert guys.
Is that how this goes? Are they just gonna keep like jumping between tribes until we've met all of them, and then they're all gonna join together in like an end game, Avatar end game? I would kind of hate that. Just go through all the biomes. There's the mountain avatars, you know.
Dude, I wouldn't even mind that. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like,
I feel like the odds of them staying with the water tribe is fairly low.
I think that's those characters. Some of the characters from the water tribe will definitely stay with them, though.
Yeah,
that would be cool. Yeah,
I will say though, as lovely as the underwater scenes, like I don't think Avatar is ever gonna escape what, at least for me, are like I call the Avatar movies dentist office movies. Like, and it's like this only proves my point further because like the scenes of just, oh, look at the pretty fish that swim by. It's very like dentist office. So it's not escaping those allegations for me, but also it kind of works as much as I want to make fun of it. Like it does work.
Yeah, it worked for me in this one.
That kind of like brings us into our point on direction and cinematography. It's clear that James Cameron loves the water, and I mean, people just know that about him. Like in his personal life, he likes deep sea diving quite a bit, and I think his love of like the ocean is super clear, and that's kind of like clearly why he wanted to make this movie. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I really don't have that much to say about the direction.
I don't have much to say.
Like, it's kind of hard to judge sometimes because, like, even though it is like we are seeing characters interact with each other, but like, I don't like because it's all CG. It's like hard to think about like how the characters, like how they were directed to be with each other.
Well, it's easy to talk about the humans though because
sure.
I think James Cameron doesn't know how to direct humans.
Yeah, I don't love the humans there.
Yeah, it's very goofy, and I don't know if it's just the script, but I think they act weird too. They act like non-player characters in a video game. Like, you know,
like we'll get into it, but like, Spider never felt like a real person to me. Yeah, Spider never felt like a real character, and like yeah, as soon as we were seeing humans, and sometimes when we were seeing humans interact with avatars, I was like, that looks weird. And there's something about it that was off to me. And it's not that the CG was bad, and it's not that they didn't feel like they... No, this is what it is. They didn't feel like they belonged in that environment. And I think that came down to directing to me. Like, there's scenes where, like, Spider is with the Avatar people, and it's like, I just don't buy this. Like, it just doesn't look right that he'd be there, and that he's moving the way he is in this environment. And I think that it would have been an interesting detail to see, because he doesn't have the same morphology as a Navi. So like it would be interesting to see like how he specifically had to adapt to move about in this environment, because he doesn't have the same abilities they do. And so I don't know, like little details like that maybe would have made it better for me.
Dude, it's the anthropology degree of you coming out there.
I don't know. The only other thing I had about direction was the camera movement, because I remember watching the first one again. I was really pissed off that it just never stopped moving. Like it was a very floating camera feel that like very like plugged into a computer, kind of perfect stylized movements of drifting. And I think there was less of that in this one, and I didn't have. Yeah, it's present, but I think there's enough shots where there isn't that, and there's also like close-ups of characters, and I don't remember if there were in the first movie, which is kind of weird to say, but like close-ups that really worked for me, where I was like, and I think it was one of like Jake Sully, his whatever his Navi character is, but like just a close-up shot, and maybe also Quaritch, and I was like, I actually I believe it this time, you know. I don't know, and I think that comes down to direction. So I kind of like what he's doing with the Navi direction wise, but the humans were weird for sure. as we kind of mentioned, one of the biggest problems with the humans is the dialogue. It's really fucking bad.
Yeah.
Actually, I do want to look this up. Who wrote Avatar 1?
Was it not James Cameron?
Well, I'm wondering if it was him and someone else or just him.
Yeah.
No, it was just James Cameron.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that explains something. So the terrible dialogue was just James Cameron, and that bleeds through into this one, but he gets help in the screenplay, which is I think partially why dialogue wise it works a little better. But
like there were multiple times where there were full conversations where I was like, every line I like wasn't like, what?
Yeah.
Why did you say that? and I think especially like with the Avatar people, like a lot of like just Avatar people talking to each other, I was like, yeah, okay, this feels like a conversation to me. But like then again, it's like, dude, and like how Spider's like calling people buttholes. I was like, what? Why is he saying that?
I know.
And then when Sigourney Weaver's character is like, I'm not your sweetheart, Buttercup, or whatever it is. And it's like, what? Would she say that?
I picked up on it. The thing that James Cameron does is he uses nicknames too much. Like every snide remark has to end in, insult name. It's a specific name. So like it's where did I write it down? So like dumbass, perv, I think were used within like 10 seconds of each other. And there's the classic line from the first one. Sigourney Weaver's character says, well, who'd you expect, numbnuts? Right? I feel like it's a lot of name calling, and that's usually what doesn't work.
That's what I mean, where like I feel like that kind of dialogue used to be more prevalent in movies.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like that was one of the things that felt like anachronistic to me. Like, this is not of this time.
Yeah.
Like
it's very Transformers. Like pre-2010, late aughts, I'd say.
Yeah.
For sure. Peter, what were you gonna say?
Was that gonna say something?
You off, but I feel bad. I'll move on. Whatever. I picked up some of my favorite lines, and I implore you to think of any that you might be able to. But I liked one of Quaritch's early lines where he goes, "We're not in Kansas anymore."
He did that last time, though. He did that in Avatar 1.
Oh, he does? I don't know. And he quickly follows up with, I bet you're wondering, why so blue?
Yeah. Also, in that scene, I think it's hilarious that I laughed really hard about the fact that one of the avatars is lifting a dumbbell.
That's what I mean. Everything is super like cliche, and what is that, like an 80s?
Yeah, it feels like an 80s. Like it reminded me of Aliens, like the scenes where like they're doing pull-ups and aliens and stuff. Like
See, I almost wondered, like maybe it's like Arrested Development of a director. It's like he figured out how to direct for the 80s and has not moved on from there, right? So yeah, I was also laughing at the dumbbell thing because that is so funny. But yeah, there's the line where someone asks about Sigourney Weaver's character. Yeah, who knocked her up?
Yeah,
so insensitive.
Yeah, I think it's the younger. Brother.
Yeah, that sounds right. I wrote this down, and I think this was a line, but I honestly do not remember. I wrote down, "Who's got the harpoon now?" Is that a line that like the Australian guy says?
Oh yeah. Dude, I thought that was so. They shoot it into the loner whale, but he like dodges it and then he wraps it around and he starts dragging them. The science guy says, "Who's got the harpoon now?"
Dude, the science guy was
yes, I remember. The issue wasn't the line; it was the pause after. It was, "Who's got the harpoon now?" And just like holds on his face like a second or two too long, and that was so.
But I also thought the line. I get the line, but I was like, you guys still do. Like it's like I don't know. Like I get the idea of the line, but just rework it. I don't know.
Yeah, the dialogue just like the movie is so much better when people aren't talking.
Yeah.
Another improvement in the film, writing wise, is just the story in general. I think.
100%. Yeah.
I think although both are very cliched stories, or at least like fall into tropes.
Yeah.
I think I was much more interested in this one, and I don't know, there was a little bit of nuance in the villain that I don't think was there in the original. So
I
Quaritch,
liked the villain a lot more in this one.
the idea that he's the Avatar now, the thing that he hates, and they didn't really explore it that much, but I found that compelling, at least, that he's kind of like going against his morals, maybe not morals, but like.
And that's one of the things that makes me excited for the next one, because I feel like where it's going is he's not gonna be with the humans or the Na'vi. Like he's gonna do his own thing, and I think that's an exciting prospect.
You know what it is? I think it's the idea that like instead of going for the obvious choice, it's something that's a little more middle ground, and not middle ground as in like safe, like it's not from either extreme, right? The humans are one extreme and the Na'vi are another, and it's nuanced, right?
And then the relationship between him and Spider, I actually think is interesting too. Like Spider, no secret, I didn't like very much as a character. But the times I liked Spider the most were the times when he like decides to save him, and I feel like there is a decent amount of nuance in that character, because although it's never like it's only like explicitly said at the beginning, but like he has this like he needs to know like where he came from, and he doesn't feel like a sense of like belonging, because he doesn't completely belong with like the Na'vi either. And like I also like the detail that it's like the reason why him and Sigourney Weaver like are attracted to each other is they kind of have that same problem, but that's not really explicitly stated. Like they both have like an idea of like ambiguous parentage, and so it's this idea of like where do you come from, and I thought like there's a lot of examples of that where there's interpersonal conflicts and interpersonal relationships that aren't completely explicitly stated, but they're a lot more interesting. I think with the younger brother, there's a lot of that too, like with how his relationship with, I mean, this is a little more explicit, but with Jake and with his older brother, I really liked a lot of that stuff, and that's why the story is more compelling to me, is because of the overall story is cliche, but like the interpersonal stories and arcs within that feel a lot more genuine to me.
Yeah, no, I think you get that's a good point, is that the characters feel a little more fleshed out, maybe. Like there's a great moment towards the end where what's her name? Natiri. So she goes like full killer instinct, and it scares Spider, and when he looked scared, I was like, oh shit, like that's so interesting. And then she like not like betrays him, but like treats him like he's not a member of the family, even though he was. And like that was like that's super interesting. I don't know, what else can I say about the story. I do think that like this is a story that's supposed to go well for like general audiences and like children. I think like I feel like the story is very easy, if that makes sense. Like there's nothing that's like super challenging, and I mean like a blockbuster, like that's not an insane prospect, but like I go back to this one line, and it might just be dialogue, but it comes back to Spider again, where he says something about like along the lines of, wait, you can't do that, that's wrong. Right. Like that's his standpoint the whole time, is he's he's stuck with the humans, and he's just like, you can't, like it's like that's immoral, they're so nice. And like I feel like it's a little bit of humans are undeniably evil in this, and there's some who are kind of dubious, like Jermaine, the scientist. But yeah, like the morality of it is kind of black and white in a sense.
I think definitely. Like I think it may be like with that moment with Neytiri, like you're supposed to like that's a little bit of a moment of gray, and then like some of the stuff with Quaritch is a little bit like that too. But yeah, I think definitely like there are good guys and bad guys. The bad guys are so bad, and they're so like they do things without remorse. So when they die, you're like, yeah. Like when you see a whale land on a bunch of guys, you're like, hell yeah, let's go kill those guys. Yeah.
And there is something to be said about that. Like that just does work for blockbusters.
Yeah.
Because like when shit goes wrong for the villains in the end, it's like it's very entertaining.
Yeah.
Peter, you've been noticeably silent during this. What do you think about the story? Clearly, you hate it.
I don't think it's that strong. I think it's repeating a lot of beats that's already done in the first one. We have this sort of same going to people, not really getting accepted, learning their tradition montage, and then eventually getting accepted. And then we have like the same, this sort of like Deus Ex Machina, like saved by like a mystical creature type of trope. Like in the first one, it's like a big flying bird. In this one, it's like a big giant swimming whale. And then,
I felt like it made sense though.
Yeah, I don't think not Deus Ex Machina.
Because it's like it's established that he's in the scene and like he's part of the reason the scene happens. The whale.
True, but also like I felt like again it's just very lazy that like in the first one you have this giant bird that's that unites people, and then in this one there's this giant whale that tips the balance.
But don't you think it's worse in the first one when he just suddenly has tamed the bird and he's there?
Well, I think the first one is almost like a natural progression for him as a character. I think like it's like for him, like you've accepted, embraced the culture. Now you have to get one step beyond in order to really even the odds, which I think was pretty cool.
I have to be honest, I do not remember that at all.
He tames the big bird. He tames the big bird that no one can tame.
And then he becomes this sort of
like I don't even.
Like the pterodactyl things that they ride.
Yeah,
sure.
Banshee. Yeah, it's called banshees, guys.
Okay,
gotcha.
Do you not know this?
And then I also feel like in this one, the final act just drags on and on. It's like first two kids get kidnapped, then two different kids get kidnapped, and it's just like there
is a lot of child.
There's a lot of
like I want you to mix it up. Like I really love the final rescue scene, like where like different characters have to sort of like get rescued differently, and one is like sort of the younger brother overcoming this sort of like fear, and then eventually like teaching his dad something new, which is
I love
really
that
cool. And then like Kiri, right? Like the Sigourney Weaver's character, like she used Ava, like this sort of like ability to control creatures to reach her mom and her sister, which is pretty neat. Well, her sister. And like I thought that scene was really well done, but then like the scenes beforehand just dragged on and on. I felt like definitely one kidnap is enough. You don't need like another set of kidnap. Like introduce something else that that introduces nuance to the final act instead of just kidnapping kids over and over.
I might agree that it would have maybe been a bit better if they differentiated. I did notice it didn't bother me that much that but it is like these guys are kidnapped. Now these guys are kidnapped, but I don't know. I was really
track of your kids. Right?
Yeah,
like man.
I actually thought that it was really well balanced, and again, I felt like it was such a good build up to like a very earned climatic point, and then the falling actions after it when everything is like the ship is sinking and everything like that, and then everyone has to be rescued. Like, I actually thought like it worked really well. Like I remember. Like I had a bad feeling that there was going to be like another surprise fight, and I was like, no, like I thought that once Quaritch is like, I keep wanting to say Quadrich. Once
Quadrich
is like when he like we think that he's drowning and he's sunk. I was like, oh, he's definitely gonna like come out of the depths and then fight Jake Sully again. And I was like, please don't do that. But yeah.
I knew he wouldn't die, but I did think like that's the end of that fight for sure.
And I also thought like just bringing back Stephen Lang for another one is sort of lazy. Like I actually really enjoyed like the whale hunting scenes. Not like I find them pleasant. It's like I thought like they're very, very powerful scenes. Where like the first like I think this one focuses on men's relationship with nature a lot more than the first one. First one did have a focus on that with like the burning of like the mother tree and etc. But I think like this one's the whale hunting scene is so powerful, and like with the context given, I think we're gonna break down the whale scenes in a bit.
Yeah.
But like I think with the context given, it's some of the best I've seen, like both in terms of emotionally and also like the impact it leaves.
Really?
They leave you afterwards after your viewing.
Okay.
I think I don't want to get into the whale scene just yet, but that's something in itself. My last bit about the story is this is just kind of, this is for fun. This doesn't mean anything, but it's funny how many of Cameron's previous works are like, can be derived as like part of this story. You've got Terminator. There's a character who will not stop at any, to kill Jake Sully. Right, I gotta kill this one dude. You've got The Abyss. Everyone's under the water. Some of these are kind of like, you've got Titanic. That's
everyone's underwater.
Right? And you've got aliens.
That's
everywhere. And that one's really thin.
Dude, you're really stretching it. Yeah.
I know, but I'm just having fun. I did mention this in my review, but last bit about like writing and also like, it's also editing and other stuff, but there's a lot of fucking characters in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think James Cameron does a very good job of balancing them, but I think there are also drawbacks to the number of characters there are, and I do feel like some got pushed to the wayside.
Sure. I am very glad there are more characters that we get to know in this. That's actually one of my big problems with the first one, where it's like even the Na'vi that we get to know, we don't know very well, other than Neytiri and then the mean guy who like wants to kill Jake, who doesn't like Jake or whatever.
Dude,
brother.
Fun fact: that guy is actually played by the same actor that plays Mother's Milk in The Boys. I just found out about that.
Cool. Yeah.
Just from that.
But yeah, I mean, like we don't like. And I love that there were more characters, because that's one of the other things that made me feel more immersed in the world, is that you know a bunch of different people in it. But that being said, like I was thinking during the movie, I was like Neytiri, for example, she gets to do some really interesting stuff towards the end, but for a lot of this movie, she's just like
absolutely
something bad happens and then she cries and she's like,
yes, right? She screams so much in this movie. Oh my god!
And it's like,
I forget, was it you that had said this to me, Aidan, that one of the issues with Avatar is that Jake Sully is just like a shitty character.
Yeah, that he's a boring fucking character. And that,
yeah. So I think part of the reason this movie works so well is that he's sidelined so much in favor of
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
I think Jake Sully's a lot better in this movie, but I wish I wish we knew a little bit more about him prior to become, like, again, one of my big problems with the first one is like we don't know very much about him, like other than like the most base level things for most of the movie. And I just wish we knew something about like his human life, and we don't know very much about it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just gonna say it. I think Jake Sully is not a bad character. I think he's executed well in the first movie, and also I think this movie actually executed him really badly, because we've seen a guy who's like a completely military person, who's a military person before getting recruited to the Avatar program, and is still like treated as military during the Avatar program.
But that's we've
seen an evolution of him in the first movie, but in this movie, instead of seeing how like his military aspect conflicts with family, we just see like his military aspect in the entire movie is like, I gotta protect my family. There's no like family aspect of him.
What are you talking about?
We only see it at the very beginning of the movie where he like teaches his kids to hunt. And that's
so much more. Well, that's okay. No, like how he gets his kids to call him sir, and then he has that conversation with Neytiri.
That's what I'm saying. We only see the military aspect of him.
No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. And then Neytiri has that conversation with him where she's like, okay, but you're also their dad. Like, you're not a military sergeant, and it's this idea that like in a time of intense conflict, like he can't he can't fully be a dad, and he has to kind of fall back into that military ridge, because also that's all we fucking know about him, is that he in his first movie, his arc is, I am military guy. That's all we know.
No. I disagree.
And his brother died. And his
Okay.
brother died.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I'm not done. Like, and like his brother died, and that's it. And then he goes on the most cliche arc of, maybe military not good. I like this girl, and that's his arc of the first one. That's it. And then and then in this one, he's actually has to balance like being legitimately a bit of an outsider within the Na'vi, having to deal with the fact that like these are his kids and he loves them, but like these stressful and militant times force him to be a bit of a drill sergeant with them. We see that conflict naturally arise with the way his kids, particularly his sons, interact with him. Like the conflict between him and the younger brother that's what it is that like he wants like a dad, and he wants like he wants to be enough for his dad, but Jake has to like push him so much because like times are so stressful, and because he's lapsed a little bit back into that military groove that's so deeply etched in him. It's so much more interesting in this movie.
Sure. Okay. Honestly, I'm not going to disagree with that. I think that's a great breakdown of his character arc in the movie. But I am going to disagree with what you said about the first film. I think the first film is actually quite amazing in the aspect that we've seen him, a guy who's like sort of like, like he wants to do so much more for the world, for himself, but he is trapped in his wheelchair, eventually liberated, becoming sort of like a new person in a new body, and then eventually being able to, from someone who can't even walk to someone who rules the sky with, flying the most powerful creature. It's such a powerful arc that we went through in the first one.
Okay, but everything you're describing, I'd like to point out, everything you're describing is just like an external thing that happens.
No, dude, I think it's absolutely mental nothing... as well. Because I think at first it's just like you're limited by your physical limitations, and then eventually how you reconcile with like become a different person but without physical limitation, and eventually fully embracing that personality is a very powerful journey.
Okay, this is my last point. You are still only describing things that are not specific to him and are just general things that like a character could go through. We don't know. My point is, we don't know like details about him. We don't know like why he cares about the things he cares about. We don't know what motivates him. It's just like, yeah, like he has this general urge to like walk, but it's like, yeah, anyone that's been paralyzed would feel that. Why is it important to him? What has he been through? What is his life? How has his life brought him here?
Yeah, and I mean, just like the general idea of like overcoming adversity is like that's all that you've described. Is that here's a character who is, limited physically, and through fantastical science fiction means overcomes that, but like not in any meaningful or applicable way. Like I just think like, yeah, I think the difference between what you like and what Aidan likes is Aidan's the Jake's plot in this new movie is interpersonal relationships and him struggling to balance different aspects of his identity. In the first one, there's not really much complexity at all. It's literally just, okay, I've got working, or I've got the ability to walk again, and I'll ride a banshee. Like, we don't need to get too much more into Jake Sully though, because there's a lot of characters in this.
True.
I found that like, man, what even happened to Sigourney Weaver's character for like the second half? She's just gone. That's after true. The coma. Like maybe that's why, but like
other than that last moment where she saves who did she save? She saves Neytiri and the young kid.
There was also a moment where she controls a bunch of sea plants to get rid of the submarines.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah, but like she disappears.
Well, she doesn't disappear. She's in all these scenes, but she just does nothing interesting.
Yeah. I think the main kid that gets all the focus is the second oldest boy.
Yeah.
And the eldest child, the eldest boy, is totally sidelined.
Bro, and then just gets shot at the end.
Like, spoiler alert, yeah, but when he dies, I was like obviously he's gonna be the one that dies, because I don't know anything about him. I don't remember any scenes he's in. He's always a supporting character to the second oldest brother.
Although it actually, I wasn't that bothered by it, because like the purpose of that character, I felt, was just to challenge the younger brother, who's clearly going to be a more integral character going forward. And I thought that like there was enough of like, and even though it's like very cliche, it's just, or very like we've seen this before, it's like the pressure Jake puts on him, like, oh, you have to be the older brother, like blah blah blah, and then I think, I don't know, like to me it did kind of work, because then the younger brother like has to like learn to take on that mantle and like learn a bit of responsibility and learn how to do things his own way a little bit because of it.
Right. I just find it cheap to kill off the least interesting character.
Sure.
You know? Because, you know, if you're going to kill a character, it should be like, oh my God, I can't believe you killed blank. That's because true. I love them so much. And I don't, like, that character has no significant scenes of their own. They have no life of their own. They are literally just a plot device for other character growth. And that shows. And I think it's funny that Jake has a scene where he remembers hunting with his kid, because I was like, this is the first time I feel like this character has any relationships with anyone else that's like actually interesting, right? I don't know, like I think it's a missed opportunity, but when you have a cast of so many characters, like I think it's inevitable that someone's gonna lose out, you know?
Sure.
Any other thoughts about characters?
I don't like Spider.
Oh yeah, I hate Spider. But
Spider's fucking annoying.
Why don't we get into that now? Earth and the humans. The human characters are fucking caricatures.
Yeah.
Every single one just acts so bizarrely, speaks like an alien is writing English.
Yeah.
Like it's, oh man. And yeah, Spider is just like the most boring, moralistic, like, you can't do that.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, I mean, also like let's just consider the context that he is a kid and has absolute zero physical power or dominance over the other people, and the best he can do is literally just tell them that he doesn't feel comfortable with what they're doing.
You go, Alex. You go.
It's for the whole movie. He's just kind of watching things happen, and is like passive. He's a passive character, and he doesn't do anything.
Absolutely.
And I think there's obviously this tension between like, okay, here's this guy who's not even my father because of the weird genetic, thing, but is like an uncle, like I don't even know, but like a potential father figure, and he's been abandoned by his other family, and that's interesting. And then they choose not to do anything with that.
Yeah, I thought that they were going to show... I thought for sure that Quaritch was going to be like, they haven't come for you. Like, they haven't even come for you. They ran away.
So easy.
And I was like, why? Yeah. It's weird that they didn't do that, yeah.
And yeah, just like, why is Quaritch such like a one-note villain? Like, so torn up about revenge, and... he's not even like a good dad. And I mean, that's something that can be explored as a theme, but I think it would have been compelling if there were some moment, or maybe there was, maybe I'm forgetting. Were there moments where he was a good dad to Spider? A good uncle?
Well, he like stops him from being tortured.
But then he also has his own agenda.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Like his agenda is like, we're going to take him with us and somehow he's going to be friends. Like,
but yeah, I will say that like there's one scene where like Spider's like laughing along with him, and it's like I think he's like teaching him Navi a little bit, and he's like, no you dung brain, it's like this. Yeah. And it's like the not Leviosa, it's Leviosa. It's like that thing. But it's like, and then he's like laughing along with him, and I'm like, he wouldn't be doing that. Why the fuck would he?
He was very chummy, very quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I just had a thought. I can't remember anymore.
He literally said, like, earlier in the film, he was like, I'm glad my father's dead, or something like that. Like, I don't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, I wish I... I got it. Spider is Kylo Ren. It's very much like the friends... Like, he's friends with the Sigourney Weaver's character, and he's gonna be like the good boy turned bad kind of thing. That's not exactly what Kylo Ren did, but That's
I actually like Kylo Ren, so there's a difference there.
Oh
no. Anyways, I don't. Oh, Aidan, you had a point about you want to see more of Earth in the future. I think they are going to Earth, is what I heard actually.
I wish we had more context as to what was going on in Earth, because it feels like so cut and dry. Like, yeah, Earth depleted. Earth is depleted, and so we need more we need resources and we need land, and like, boom, that's it. We're just gonna come. Like, I wish we knew more about like specifically what happened on Earth, and I wish we saw something. Like, I think even just like, are people trying to escape Earth? You know what I mean? If Earth is dying, are people like is it like Elysium where it's like the rich are starting to be able to get on transport to Pandora or something? Like,
that's Peter's favorite movie.
And like, also, I wish we knew more about the situation. I think that would make the humans feel more human.
But I also think it's very tough to do, though.
Wait, okay, just wait. But they can still be so blatantly evil doing that. Like, that wouldn't make you think like, oh, don't kill them. Like, you would still be like, yeah, fuck him. But I think it just fleshes out the whole conflict a little bit more. And dude, I think it can. All it has to be is quick scenes. Like, it just has to be like,
you know what stuff. You need. You need like a character waking up from cryo sleep, and it's like, oh, what I miss? It's like, hey, here's an info flash. Earth is like this now. I do agree with you though, because in the first one they came to Pandora for like an energy source or something, and then in this one all of a sudden it's shifted to, oh yeah, Earth is dying, by the way, so we're here to colonize Pandora.
But I do think that my problem is more with the first one in this case. I wish we saw this in the first one. And like,
well, I mean, the first one they're just there for energy, which is like, that's fine. That's very cliche.
Yeah, but that's, I still wish we saw
more explanation for that.
No, I still wish because like, if you're trying to build a franchise, I want to know more about.
Because dude, it's like, very hard to insert a natural context scene for Earth. I feel like,
no, it isn't.
Unless it's like actually like some character waking up from cryo sleep. It's like,
I don't think it has to be. I don't think it has to be like any character we follow. I think it literally could just be like something that's in a montage at the beginning of the movie, and that's it. And that would give a little.
That's extremely unnatural.
I'm gonna tie break here. I think in a movie that's, both of which are almost or over 3 hours, I think that's something that just would have ended up on the cutting room floor either way. So I know, I know why that would be nice. I think just generally, if the human characters were a little more interesting and nuanced, and like, I think that's what you're trying to get at.
Absolutely.
But like,
no, but I also wish I knew more about the overall conflicts, and I think that knowing more about Earth is a key into that.
I think given if they go through with the 4 sequels or whatever, I think
we'll get to it eventually.
I think we'll get to it, but I actually kind of like the unity of place in the Avatar movies, that were always on Pandora, and the frame of reference is kept in the movie starts when we arrive there, and in the first one at least. And I don't know, that's personally like that I don't have a problem with, but yeah, I think that's something we're gonna have to agree to disagree on. But speaking of the movie starting, this movie starts really weird. I don't know if you had the same problem,
it's
but
like
I was like,
growing up montage.
No, not even that. Just like the first shot, I was like, "Oh, is it starting?" And then I was like, "Wait, did I buy tickets to the first movie?" Like, it was just like generic scenes of landscape and like drone footage. Do you remember like the first shot?
Yeah. I do.
A misty forest, and
I took that as he is saying Avatar came out over 10 years ago. I need to refresh people as to where we are. What's going on, like, because there's also like that narration over it that like,
I didn't mind that,
but it like, I think that's what the purpose of it is. It's like, here, this is what happened, you guys remember, and then here's what's happening now.
I just think that the opening, you know what, it was the fact that there was no hook to it. You see so many blockbusters where the first scene is super intense, right? Think Top Gun Maverick. It starts off with the space flight testing sequence.
Right.
That's a really grab your attention kind of scene.
Gotcha.
Or, the first scene of, I don't know why this came to me, but Doctor Strange is the scene of
the fight with the
variant, and it's a fight scene, right? You start with a fight scene to get the attention, and it was just like it was like a fade in start. Like I'll build the energy. We'll get there. And I was like, oh, it's
Dude, it's this 3-hour
started.
movie. If you hype people up this early,
well, no, that's why you need to give. You need to give them something to start with.
Sure.
And it moves boosh.
I mean,
how many times can I use that? Okay, maybe that was just me, but whatever.
I was like put off by it.
The real first fight scene is like the train heist, and that's like much later into the movie after like the growing up montage.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like just generally like Act 1 is it
Slow?
needs to get it's fast paced. Like it needs to go like okay, and the humans are back, and then we do a train heist, and then this and this and this because we need to get to the water tribe.
Right.
I think
yeah.
It takes a fair amount of time because he's got the time with 3 hours, so it's probably like what 45 to an hour before we're with the water tribe. But still, like it's pretty clear that it's like we gotta go, guys. So we gotta set up the new status quo and move on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think about Sigourney Weaver's character?
It's just okay. It's just like at first I didn't realize that she's playing both, and I thought it's actually a kid. No, I've been
talking about that for like months. People have known for months.
I did not know. Like, I don't think I've heard that much about this movie till like I actually went to see it. So like I didn't know she played the kid at all. But like I don't know. Like I wish like the spiritual aspect is explored a little more with her because I think that's sort of the point of her character is.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where that goes. I was definitely very interested in it. I maybe wanted to see it fleshed out a little bit more. But I generally liked her. I didn't really have a problem with her at all.
I think she's going to be like...
very important.
Dare I say like the linchpin? Like she's going to be like vaguely what happens to... what the fuck is his name? Atreides boy from Dune?
Paul?
I think... Yeah. I feel like the very similar arc is I think she's going to be like God of Pandora kind of thing.
Oh my god.
Like, maybe by the end she's like harnessed into the entirety of Pandora and it becomes like a giant mech and then there's like a fight and she's like
shut the fuck up, bro.
Like who do you think knocked up I can't stop using that terminology. Who do you think the seed bearer is?
Dude, it might be interesting if it's like Pandora itself. Or
that's
like
what I was thinking.
Like the Ava, like the fucking the tree of life. It's like, dude, it's how fucking Anakin was born, wasn't he? Like the Force impregnated like his mom or
Palpatine,
something.
Probably, but yeah.
Palpatine. No, I think George Lucas said it wasn't Palpatine.
No, but like,
even though it's implied.
Oh, I always thought that it was like he was involved in the conception, but like he didn't actually like fuck me.
I thought I read somewhere that because I thought that too, but I thought I read somewhere that George Lucas was like, no, that's not true.
No, it's just immaculate conception.
Yeah.
I saw people like on Twitter being like, oh, I have theories about who it is, and I was like, how?
I feel like it's definitely Awa.
Yeah, I think that's very natural,
what was it? I feel like that's the easiest twist, I'd say, because you try to throw people off the scent by being like, "Yeah, I wonder who it was," and then the answer is no one.
Well, that also that like explains her powers and like her like a lot of her arc and
it's I don't know if that's easier or if it's a character that we've yet to meet. I feel like the latter's probably lazier. What was I thinking? Oh, but the sequel we know is called The Seed Bearer. So
really?
like that's
what?
Yeah, that's why I keep saying that.
That's a terrible name.
Well, we got to figure out who impregnated her. Who's the seed bearer? I hope that's not what that means, but I think it's so funny.
That's really funny if that's what that refers to.
Yeah.
They're on a quest to find the seed bearer.
Who's the motherfucker?
Oh my god.
Well, there's a lot of white people with dreads in this movie.
That's
not
true.
just Jake Sully, also Spider unnecessarily.
Yeah.
What's up with that? James Cameron. I feel like that. Remember a couple podcasts ago, I was like, it feels very like I'm cosplaying as an indigenous person,
Sure.
I never stopped feeling that like I might have like forgotten about it while watching the movie, but Spider especially with white dreads, I was like, and blonde dreads. I was like, there's something distasteful about this,
Yeah.
and especially given the more recent comments. But
no, I agree. I don't have much to say about that, but yeah, I was like, this is weird.
That's fair. That it doesn't have to be like a huge thing. Another smaller moment was, and I know Aidan felt the same way, when we're introduced to the daughter of the chief of the water tribe. There's a shot that I call the Bond girl shot, where she's stepping out of the water and like water's dripping from her.
My God.
Bondation, like she's like, quote unquote well proportioned, like very clearly supposed to look like a Bond
the ideal
girl, kind
Navi.
Yeah, the ideal Navi figure.
Yeah.
That was just so funny. I don't have much more to say.
No, that was something. I think we were both laughing really hard. That was really funny.
It's a very like obtuse James Cameron moment, like the weightlifting.
Yeah.
Like of course he did that.
Yeah.
Later in the movie, we are introduced to a scientist played by Jermaine Clement.
Yes.
I cheered. I was like, yeah!
Dude, I didn't recognize him at first.
I didn't know he was in there, but as soon as he showed up, I was like, that's my guy. I love Jermaine Clement. He's so funny. But he doesn't have his accent, which is so weird because the character he's associated with is Australian, and he's a New Zealand actor, and he had to play American. I'm sure they were just like, if there's two accents and they're different but similar, it'll be confusing. We can't have an Aussie and a New Zealander next to each other and share a scene. People will be confused.
Yeah.
But I liked his character a lot. He's fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Did his character die? I don't remember. He did, right?
He died.
I don't think.
Well, I mean, he was on the boat, and
he was in the boat crash, but it was like everyone gets tossed up in the air, and then,
well, I mean, the captain for sure died, but like the other guys, not sure.
Did he?
I mean, he lost his arm, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was sick. I was like,
that
whoa.
doesn't kill you necessarily. Yeah. Well, we can get to that. That was what I
losing a lot of blood, bro.
That's what I listed as my best kill of the movie. There's a couple of like fun kills, and like that was my favorite. The whale killing the whaler.
Yeah.
Because apparently they're super intelligent, so I guess he figured that one out. But that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any other kills that you liked from this movie?
I'm trying to think of. There were multiple times where it was like. Just like Jake or Neytiri like taking someone out, and I was just like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah.
Neytiri's got sick moves.
Dude, I still really enjoy these clean bow shots where it like, especially when you see it from like the cockpit point of view, just an arrow piercing through the cockpit window, and then boom, it just feels really meaty, like very physical.
I agree. My ideal reaction to a fight scene should be me going like, oh. and I was doing that in this movie, so like it's a pass for me.
I said to Aidan, like, the humans at some point have to switch to like bulletproof glass. Like how are they still like, how do they come back and not figure that one out, that what, maybe the cockpit should be a little bit harder to break through, or I don't know, like At some point, they have to figure that one out, because Neytiri is just OP with that bow and arrow. She's too good. The worst kill of the movie is the whale torture scene. What I call whale torture porn.
Yeah.
Aidan, do you want to explain?
Sure. So this is the scene where like Quaritch has like first arrived like at the whale hunters, and they're like, we have a quota to make. So we see like an incredibly detailed step-by-step breakdown with both visuals and dialogue to explain everything they're doing to hunt these whales. And it's not important enough. We don't need to know all these details for a later scene or anything. It's just like, it's so long of them hunting whales. And this was one of the only times where I like the pacing started to drag for a bit for me, and I think it was like because we're with the humans and I want to cut back to the Avatar, but like I leaned over to Alex and I was like, why are we still here? Why are we seeing this in so much detail? Like I just genuinely, the only thing I can think of is that like it's supposed to be like a commentary on like whaling and stuff and like
real
treatment.
Whaling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, okay, like that would be clear enough if we didn't spend however long we spent. Like I don't know, it's just it's so much detail. That's like it was one of my least favorite scenes in the whole movie.
God, Aidan, we're just polar opposite on this movie. I'm really sorry. Holy shit. I love that scene.
I found it manipulative, frankly. Like I think
it's very heavy on the commentary, but I also thought it was pretty important.
But it's not that important for the story. It's just like
I think it's about how like we already see like the friendly side of the whale, and then like this very heavy. It's like despite like the whales are intelligent, whales have like a friendly side. They're beneficial and they're close with the native people. We hunt them anyway just to extract a tiny amount of brain juice. And I think like
that's the commentary.
The first
they're not using the whole thing. Yeah.
The first movie, we saw them burning the mother tree, and I think that's like the big call to action. This is sort of similar, but in this movie, I still think it's a very, very powerful scene that we see like a really graphic way that a whale is hunted, and we've seen like this whale's a mom, like her kid's right there. Without her kid's gonna die. Like real consequences of human actions. I think it's like. It's sometimes even more it's even more emotional watching that than like seeing them burning down houses like of the Na'vi, in my opinion. Like just see their treatment of the wildlife. I think
that's what I mean when it's like you have a detailed scene, and I'm gonna like analogy, like it's a detailed scene of people basically like shooting a dog over and over and over, and like the puppy dog is right beside it and then dies shortly thereafter, and it's like, I get it. The humans are evil. I don't need a 5-minute scene of humans kicking and shooting a dog over and over and over.
But that really gets you. Like
it's manipulative. I know. Like he's really trying to be like, whaling is bad, and it's just so obtuse and like, okay, clearly you're talking about the real world right now and not about Avatar.
Yeah,
like,
it's so removed from the plot. We don't need to know like any of those details going forward. I agree, it's important
some of them. It's for the later whale hunt.
We need to know that they're cruel. We need to know about like the tracking beacon thing, and we need to know about like the bombs they put in the water overhead. Yeah. And that's like it. That's all we need to know. But we learn so much more about the process. And everything you're saying, I think, is accomplished in a shorter scene, Peter.
Yeah,
sure. But I feel like that scene is just very powerful. Like I agree. Like a shorter scene might have get the job done. At least in a plot point of view. But I think it's a very powerful scene of humans' treatment of wildlife. And like honestly, like Alex, I agree that this is very, very heavy on the commentary. But like it's still. Like seeing it versus hearing about it is very different. You know what I mean? Like you can hear about like people saying, "Oh, whaling is bad," but like actually seeing some of these things in action feels very different.
We're just gonna.
But there are like
on from this.
Sure, like it is removed from the movie though. I agree. Like that's a good point. Yeah.
More on the whales though. They make a good. They make a clear point that the Avatar whales are more intelligent than even the Na'vi or the humans, and I'm almost wondering, like, is this another Dune thing? Like, are we gonna get people avataring into whales, like using the whales as the avatar?
Wait, Dune?
What do you mean another Dune thing?
Yeah,
because they have
like the worms.
Yeah, but they just ride them.
Yeah.
Okay, well, like weird stuff with big animals.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of setup with these whales that might carry over into the future.
Oh, yeah, I agree for sure.
Yeah.
Sand whales.
I think that would be so fire if one of them became an Avatar whale, though. I'd love to see that.
Right? That's what I'm saying. God, yeah. I also found it really funny that the humans use like those slap bracelets as handcuffs. That's so funny. But also like, if the police came up with that technology, they would 100% use that. Like that's it's so grounded too. Like I could 100% see people using those.
Yeah. Well, there's already like zip ties are used. You know what I mean? And it's just like.
Yeah. We already talked about the kid dying. I don't think we need to go over that again because one of the last scenes of the movie, Spider saves Quaritch. I think that was neat. And then Quaritch leaves and Spider joins the family again, which was kind of weird.
I thought Spider might go off with him, but
like I thought that scene in isolation is good, but like there's absolutely zero setup. Like there's no reason Spider should save Quaritch in that scene.
I agree. There should have been more setup. I think that we don't really see him. Like again, we said he warms up to him so quickly. He so quickly becomes so chummy, and I think there should have been. We don't really have a good reason other than the fact that he clearly wants a dad and wants to know about where he comes from.
Sure, yeah, I think that's a good way
as to why he likes this guy. Like I think like he should have done something for him. Of course, should have done something for him. They should have bonded over something.
And I think that it's real shame that they didn't make him question like you are a human, yet instead of with us, you're with them. Like type of thing.
And then it's like the opposite. He's an avatar. He's not a human, but he's with the human. So it's like I don't know. Like the
that's a great opportunity they missed for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess where do you think the sequels are going? Like, what happens next?
Dude, they gotta find a sea bear, man. You already said it.
Obviously, yeah.
A sea bear. No, I do think that Quaritch won't ally with the humans. I don't know exactly what he's gonna do, but I think he's gonna defect and like do his own thing. And I don't know exactly what that's gonna be, but I think he's still gonna be a bad guy. But
I hope they move away from the revenge angle because I'm gonna find that's real stale.
Out. Yeah.
Like movie 3 or 4 being like, oh man, this guy really hates Jake Sully still. I mean, I'm not fond of Jake Sully either, but like this is a bit much. I do worry that we're just gonna keep switching biomes and that gimmick is gonna get pretty old.
Well, I mean, like the whole point is that it's like the joy of exploring a new world, right? And in order to like experience that, you sort of have to do something new.
Is that the point?
That's part of the point. I absolutely think that's part of the point. I agree. Yeah. I'd love to just see more of the world, like every movie.
Okay, I would. That's personally that's not something I'm particularly interested in.
Alex just wants to see more whales.
What happens where did we go forward with the kid, the boy? Because I think we know what's happening with Sigourney, but
Spider?
No, the younger brother, the one who doesn't die.
I think it's about like him taking on more responsibility. Like it's like we already sort of had like a coming of age moment with him, with his relationship change with his dad. The next step is probably like him becoming more of like an adult and taking on real responsibilities, stuff like that.
Well, I said this to Alex in the theater. There was a moment I actually thought Jake might die in this movie.
I did too.
He will die.
Certainly. And I thought that like, oh, the younger brother is going to become like he's going to have to take on like a new role. He's going to become like our protagonist. And I still think that might be where they're going. That he's our protagonist for one of the upcoming movies.
I definitely think that's an angle. I also feel like Took, the younger sister, I think she's going to become a bigger character as she grows up. And I mean, there's more room for her now given how the kid died. So, but yeah, like as a baby, that I see that as setup. Here's a baby. Sure. No one cares what's happening with the baby, but that character is going to be important down the line. And then you'll go back to this movie and be like, yeah, remember when that super important character was a baby and didn't do anything?
Yeah, but I actually, this was the one character where I thought it was fine that they didn't really do anything.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't give a shit what the baby's doing.
Yeah.
What else? How are they going to keep the humans interesting? That's something that I just keep wondering. Like, if the humans are just going to be like.
I think you have to have humans that have like I honestly do think that if we knew like, okay, humans have to leave Earth. Like Earth is no longer habitable, and
like it is like life or death for them as well.
Yeah, like I think that's how you make it a little bit more interesting.
Civilians,
because I feel like it's just every movie. It's just like first movie is like human invasion. We fight off human invasion. Second one is more human coming and invading.
Yeah. You know? But now they're invading harder. And
You know what? I think also the idea that it's been in this movie, it's kind of like passive fight against the like actually it's a theme in the movie, really. It's that, do we fight or do we try and hide? And then eventually they decide, you know what? No, we have to be proactive. Yeah. And I feel like that's setting up where the future of these movies go. I think they're going to have to go on the proactive side and be like, no, we are going to have to fight the humans head on.
On the offensive,
I don't think it'll be I don't think they'll be continually running to different biomes like, well, we've blown this cover, like go to the next one. I think they're going to go on the offensive.
Because we do see like a desert base in this movie.
Stop talking about the desert.
No, it is in the desert though. Like,
oh my god.
You know, with like the construction bugs and everything.
Yes. Bridgehead. Remember, it's called Bridgehead because I was like, what kind of name is that? I wouldn't be surprised if we go to Bridgehead, and I think that would be something really interesting. Is seeing the avatars try and go on the offensive. The Na'vi, I mean. And that lends weight to the theory that we will go back to Earth, and maybe the Na'vi try to take over Earth again. Like, I don't know what they would do.
That'd be crazy.
Well, I think if they do a complete 180 on that character, like that's interesting. So I don't know if they go back to Earth, I think you could do some really interesting stuff there.
I mean, he has a 7-movie plan. Just like
is it 7? Yeah. There's no way.
He said he can stop at Avatar 3. Like he said, Avatar 3 can act as a conclusion, but he does have a 7.
I think that's easy enough. Yeah, you just say like, I don't know. They go on the offensive and the humans are defeated. The end. I feel like that's pretty easy to do. I do want to know final thoughts about the movie. Where do you rank this in the year? I'm just trying to I'm stretching out my words as I find my list.
It's hard for me to keep track of everything.
Dude, not everyone keeps a 2022 rank like you, Alex.
Everyone should.
Yeah, I don't have mine off the dome.
So Top Gun. We said,
I think Top Gun's better.
This is better than Top Gun. For me, this is better than Top Gun.
How about the Batman?
Batman's better than this.
Peter?
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah.
How about Nope? I'm just gonna go through blockbusters basically.
Nope is better than this.
Well, I didn't enjoy Nope, so like for me, it's like about the same level.
I really like Nope.
Yeah. How about the Fabelmans?
I think Fabelman's better than this.
I think I'm gonna remember and revisit Avatar 2. Honestly, out of those two movies, better is maybe a question I can't answer as much, but like in terms of like movie, I'm more excited about and that I'm gonna think about more going forward. I think it's Avatar 2.
Yeah, Pinocchio. I'm not gonna probably remember the Fabelman.
How about Pinocchio? GDT's Pinocchio.
I think Pinocchio is better than this. Like
I liked this more than Pinocchio.
I think I enjoyed this more than Pinocchio as well.
Yeah.
Pinocchio is more like nuanced, but also like kind of boring.
Whereas like the story is definitely better, but I also think Pinocchio, like, I don't know, like somehow like just CG looking real is just less appealing to me for some reason.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Like I think Pinocchio just has a very interesting art style, and I dig that. So.
What else can I compare? Have you guys seen RRR?
No. It's on my list. I'll watch that. Yeah,
I think if I like this better than RRR. RRR is another. Actually, it's a very good comparison because it's very blockbustery. 3 hours. There were a lot of 3-hour movies this year.
Now, is this better than Black Panther?
That's what I was going to get to. Wakanda Forever. This is the last one we'll do.
I think Black Panther is better than this.
I was thinking about it towards the end where I literally had the thought like, this is a better boat fight scene.
It is a better boat fight scene.
So I had that thought.
This one's better.
I think this is better too, actually.
I don't think I can even like it's easy because I think back to Riri Williams and as much as I hated
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I hated Martin Freeman.
You mean
Val.
Agent Everett Ross? Yeah.
I like. Yeah, no hate against Martin Freeman, Everett Ross. Sorry, like
Special Agent Everett Ross.
Those side plots are so fucking stupid. At least these ones, make sense.
Yeah,
no,
nothing.
I think this is better.
I think this is better too. I actually think this is a more consistent movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I mean, I think all of us actually like this movie more than I wanted to, for sure.
Yeah.
Aidan, or actually, sorry, anyone have any final thoughts about the movie?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, well, we just gotta wait 10 more years for the next one.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Aidan, do we have a segment?
We sure do. So, in case the listeners haven't noticed, the podcast is called Predator versus Movies, and we've done the movie part. So, I think it's time to get into the Predator part. We asked the question, would the Predator from the movie Predator make this movie better if he was in it? If he graced the screen with his presence?
Okay, before I answer this question, can Predator swim?
I would.
That's up to our imagination. Haven't we asked this question already? We did this for Black Panther. I actually think this is one of the rare movies that Predator would not feel weird.
Yeah, I actually think that if Predator was here, I'd be like, "Oh, this is in that universe." Okay,
like he can definitely fit in the forest scenes.
Yeah.
Like the forest scenes, that's his natural habitat, basically. But like the water scenes, maybe not so much.
If he was like.
It would create some nuance between, super bad humans and Na'vi, and then you've got like this third random robot option.
Hear me out. That Bond goats, fuck, I can't talk. The Bond girl scene.
Oh,
where
okay.
Instead of her emerging from the water, we see Predator. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Just dripping.
I think Predator should be revealed to actually be an Na'vi.
Oh no! Predator knocked her up, bro.
Predator's mad. Predator's the sea bear. There's Wait a minute. That's what the head tails for the Predator are. It's all those Avatar tails.
Whoa.
Wait, what if he kills Avatar?
He kills Avatar.
He takes his trophies. Yo, we cracked the code.
That's what it is.
From the same universe. It's actually kind of weird that James Cameron didn't do a Predator movie. I feel like that would be right up his alley.
Yeah.
Because he did do the Aliens movie, but I was thinking about that today. It's weird that the first 3 Aliens movies are done by different directors, and all of them are very acclaimed directors.
Yeah. Who did the second one?
James Cameron.
James Cameron did the second, and then David Fincher. Even though that movie.
Oh really? Who did the first then?
Ridley Scott. Who did Blade Runner?
Oh, right, yeah.
And The Martian.
Yes,
The Martian.
Did.
The Martian.
Anyways, I think that's enough Predator versus this movie. Peter, what's our next segment?
Okay, we've done the Predator. We've done the movie. It's time for some Rex. So let's get into Predator's picks. What have you all watched this week?
Who should go first? Aidan can go first.
Sure. So I watched the movie White Noise in theaters this week.
It's still in theaters? I'm surprised.
I think it just recently. I think it came to theaters in Winnipeg last week.
Oh, only just? Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, like this is a movie that has not been getting the best reviews. But I really, really enjoyed it. I found myself really, really engaged with this movie. I wasn't as engaged in the beginning, but as it went along, I was like, this is really cool. And I actually think that you could argue it's a little messy. There's some problems with it, sure, but I actually genuinely believe this is a movie that in 10 years people will look back on and be like, oh no, that was fire. We were wrong. The critics were wrong about this one. This was actually really good. Because I think that there's a lot. I instantly wanted to watch it again. I would be so down to watch this again. The final scene is so funny. It's one of the most absurd, funny things. But like
you're making me excited. I want to see it
like
now.
it's such an absurd movie, but it's like it's really fun. It's like Noah Baumbach simultaneously stepping out of his old stuff while also it's like fairly recognizable in a lot of ways as his work. And I really enjoy this movie. I'm being serious. It's one of my favorite of the year. Like right now.
Actually, Noah did do Marriage Story, so like he has been doing like actually like more artsy films.
That's nothing like this movie. That's what I'm saying. Is like there are elements of like Marriage Story ish stuff in that, but he's very much stepping out of this.
Peter, do you know what White Noise is about?
I did watch the trailer. It looks like A Quiet Place, but like not really.
Sort of. It's like a very 80s movie where there's like a man-made like disaster.
Oh my god, this is hilarious. Like I'm reading the synopsis right now. Professor of Hitler Studies?
Yeah.
That's his name, bro?
Yeah, he's a professor of Hitler Studies. Yeah. He's like the preeminent like the biggest guy in Hitler Studies.
Holy shit.
I can't imagine there's very many people in that field. Would you say it's better than Avatar?
Yes, I like this movie.
Okay. Well, it's been added to my list.
It's actually legitimately, it might just be recency bias, but it might be in my top 5 of the year.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
It releases on Netflix next week. It's next week on the December 30th. So we had talked about reviewing it for the pod, and I still intend to, but that'll probably be somewhere in January.
Sure.
What else have you seen?
What else did I see? I feel like I did see. I've been watching this show on Netflix that is like I fucking love it so much. It's called School of Chocolate, and it's like it's like a reality show, and it's like a competition show in which people make things out of chocolate, but it's like not really. It's like a school instead of being like a proper competition, and the host is this French guy, and I just love him so much. Like he's such a fun character to watch on screen. And I've like, so if you like just like competition cooking shows, like I would say like this is a really good one. So I've been watching that. I feel like I watched something else as well, but I think those are the 2 things that are off the dome. 2 things that I liked.
Cool. Peter, what have you been Predators picking?
I finally caught up on House of the Dragon. I missed the really? Yeah, it's been a long time, I know. I missed the final 3 episodes, and I've finished the first season now. I think it like these 3 episodes were some of the best in the season, and it's a real shame I haven't watched them till now. Really deep emotional moments within the Targaryen families, especially between Daemon and Viserys. It's just like very looking forward to the next season where like shit actually start happening. This season's mainly set up, and we've seen like the political struggle and like how the 2 sides are shaping up, and now shit's about to get real. So yeah,
it's it's funny. Like I feel like a show, if you have a season that's just set up and you have to keep going like the real stuff happens next season, like that's not a good you shouldn't do that.
I mean like it's tough with the lore because like you want the audience to know the character, but also like you don't really want to just skip over character because like it's meant to show how like political feud is passed on from generation to generation, and the only way to really do that in an efficient manner is by doing time jumps, which I know you have a problem with in the show. But like I think like it explored the scenes very well, and like there are multiple very powerful scenes, and if you compare characters at the beginning of the show versus like towards the end of the season, you see like clear character development and how like sort of like power dynamic switches between characters, which is really cool to see. And like I don't have anything to complain about. Like I really enjoy the show, so
cool.
Looking forward to season 2.
Any other picks?
No, I think everything I've seen.
Yeah,
cool.
Before Alex goes, I saw one of his reviews on Letterboxd, so I know one of the movies he watched, and I was like, oh, no way. And I think you probably know what I'm talking about.
There's a good
Dude,
chance.
it is so excited.
There's actually there's like 3 that you might say that about. So,
Okay.
but I think I know which one. So this is in chronological order, and basically my plan here was I was trying to catch up on as many movies that released this year as I can for our what is gonna come up our 2022 in review episode.
Yeah.
So I want to have as much context and information for that as possible personally. So first off, I watched a movie called Argentina 1985. It had a very high ranking on Letterboxd, so I was like, I have to see this. And it wasn't as good as like people were saying. It's kind of like a procedural court drama, and like it doesn't really blow that genre out of the water, and it's held back in that sense. But just visually, like one of the most impressive films this year. Very vibrant colors. The cinematography was very interesting. I like that quite a bit.
Now, answer the question: is it better than Avatar?
Oh, am I going to do this for all of them? I think Avatar's better because the story. Well, the story. I like character-centric stories, and Avatar does that better than this one. Because this one, the focus was like it's basically like a retelling of a real court case that happened in Argentina in 1985. That's the goal. And there are characters who are interesting, but they're sidelined because that's not the point. That also was very long. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something for a procedural, basically. Next off is what I'm assuming Aidan is talking about. I watched Pearl.
Yeah, you didn't like it.
I did not like it.
Yeah.
I saw X earlier this year, and that one I think I gave a 3.5, and I found it very enjoyable, but like just kind of like meaningless fun. Like, yeah, it's just a fun slasher, and that's fine. This one did not do that for me. People called it a character study, but there's not really any depth to Pearl's character like that I found personally. That movie, I said that it felt like 2 hours plus, and it turned out to be only an hour 40, and I was like, how? Like it dragged so much for me. I feel like it could have been an hour, a half hour, like
really?
Like I didn't think it was a feature length idea, or what they did with it could have been cut down to a 40-minute short film. I feel that the direction wasn't particularly interesting. There's like a couple of moments that are good, but it's really hanging on Mia Goth's performance, which she's great, but I don't think that's enough to make a movie work for me. It's a lot of like wheel spinning. Someone described it like Pearl is basically the same as the Joker, where someone is like quote unquote crazy, and it just takes a while for everybody else to figure it out and for them to let loose and start killing people. And that's kind of true.
Yeah, but I think it's way better than Joker.
Well, it can be better than Joker, but still be Joker.
I don't think so. I think like the perspective it's coming from is very different from Joker, and like I disagree. This is arguably top 3 for me of the year. Still, I love this movie.
Oof.
I thought there was depth to her character. I really liked this movie.
Dude,
I loved a lot of the directing decisions actually as well. I thought it was like exactly what it needed to be in most situations for me. And I love this like, and also I did say to you, I don't think you're gonna like this as much as me. And I do remember saying,
well, you're right.
Like, this is a movie that like this is exactly my kind of movie. So is X.
Yeah.
And like they're two things. I love this kind of movie, so I'm not that surprised that you didn't like it as much as me, but I have to step in and say I personally loved it. It's one of my favorite movies still.
Sure, fair enough.
Dude, hear me out. I think Alex just found out what Mia Goth really sounds like, and that ruined Mia Goth movies for him.
No. But I would say that Avatar was better than that. I watched Disney's 2022 Pinocchio. That movie sucks. It's so bad. It's like,
but you watched it anyways, so we got you.
There was one night where I was like, I need to watch another movie. but I don't want to watch something good that would require
what?
I
That's so
wanted to
random.
turn my brain off and watch something. It's bad, and like to no one's surprise, it's just worse than anything. It's just kind of lazy and like haphazardly put together. Like it really is just like a machine product that there was no artistry or care to. Retroactively makes GDT's Pinocchio look so much better. But really, what are you expecting? So it's just bad. But Avatar's better. I watched Richard Linklater's Apollo 10.5. It's a rotoscoped film, so it's animation that's done by filming real people and then animating over top of that. So it's got this weird kind of like realistic almost look to it while also being animated. And it's basically like there's almost no story, and it's basically his experiences growing up in the 60s, and it's like almost like an anthology of just like or like unconnected scenes. He does like those a lot, and it's really just like what his experiences growing up were like. And I actually found it really enjoyable. Like it's not anything heavy, and it doesn't ask any big questions. It really is just pure nostalgia, and it was fun. I had a good time watching it. So maybe check that out if you want to. And then I watched Blonde, and that was something. It's not as bad as people said, but like reading reviews, I came to the understanding like, yeah, this probably wasn't the right way to go about telling that particular story. It portrays Marilyn Monroe, whose real name is Norma Jean Baker. It portrays her as like a dumb blonde, and I doubt that that's what she was like in real life, because like almost everything that happens in the movie she's like surprised by, and I was like, okay, that's a little weird. And it is just it's quite an uncomfortable experience. 3 hours of just like terrible shit happening to this person. um yeah, it could have been done better. The cinematography is pretty good, and then there's just like a lot of really strange creative choices. There's one scene in particular where it's like Norma Jean's on her way to losing her mind, and there's a scene where she's like looking at a bunch of paparazzi, and then they put a fucking Snapchat filter on them so that their mouths get all big. Like the Snapchat filter where they have big, like you have a really big mouth, but it's so clearly a filter. And I was like, why did you do that?
Did they hire high schoolers to edit this movie?
Seemed like it, and it's not the only time where it's a very clear filter. Like you can see the circle mask that they made.
Really?
Yeah. So the effects aren't great. There's also the CGI fetuses that people talked about, and that was really weird. It's almost pro-life, like
Really?
its standpoint, yeah, because it's like the fetus is literally says, "Why did you kill me, Mom?"
Oh my god!
She's like, "But you're not the same fetus," and she's like, "Yeah, you just like shouldn't do that.
I don't like that
in movies." So it was very weird. I don't know. I have mixed feelings because it wasn't as bad. Like I thought it would be terrible based on what I heard. It's just like, yeah, it's pretty tone deaf, but
Yeah, well, what I read, like I heard people being like very offended by it. Like I thought it was like that it was really gross.
And I think it depends on your level of like your threshold, right? Like I don't get offended that easily. So I feel like and you know what? Like these are issues that don't necessarily pertain to me. So like people, it's different for me as, a guy watching this. So like that's fair. Anyway, so that's all I watched this week. Next week we have some options. I am leaning towards Glass Onion personally, but I know also The Whale is coming out, and so we've talked about doing that, and Damien Chazelle's Babylon, and then there's like a million other movies coming out too: The Eternal Daughter, Women Talking, and some other stuff. So we'll figure that out. and how we're gonna record and release all this stuff. But Peter, what do we have left to do? We gotta plug some stuff.
Yes. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at PredatorVMovies. Leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice.
Please.
And I think that's it.
Yeah, you can leave a star review on Spotify. We want to get 10 or something. Come on, guys. Just fucking 10.
On, please. Give us a review.
It's so simple. You just plug in the star review and you don't even have to do anything. Apple Podcasts also has star reviews you can leave. Do that. Thanks. Check me out on Letterboxd at _AlexGordon_. I leave reviews and they're fun.
Check me out on Letterboxd as well at 810sunny. That's 810 SONNY. I also sometimes leave reviews.
He's known as Wombo there. Yeah. Anyways, I think that's all for this episode. So until next time, I'm Alex.
I'm Peter.
I'm Aidan.
And this was Predator V Movies. See you next time.